Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Odds here. Friday Freakout. And I was gonna go off this morning like crazy on Nick Nurse, but you know what? An hour ago, he finally did what we've been wanting him to do for 43 days. I counted the days. It's been 43 days exactly. 43 days since we fired him, and now he has finally come out with his thank you statement to Toronto. I'm gonna read it real quick for you guys because he did release one finally about an hour ago. It wasn't that long ago that he did it. This is the statement on his Instagram. It's a nice picture of downtown Toronto with the CN Tower and thank you at the top. And it says, "My family and I are forever grateful for the love and support you have shown us. Thank you to the City of Toronto, MLSE, Larry Tannenbaum, and the board and the entire Raptors organization. We will miss the people, the city, the country we've called home for the past 10 years. Through the foundation, we will continue to support the community that has given us so much." Nick Nurse. So he's saying there that his foundation is still going to run here in Toronto. And there's a couple of things in here. Nick, once again, in the last 2 months, has done everything backwards, everything in the wrong order, whether it's the press conference in Philly or this letter after he's already taken the job and he's sitting in Philly. I mean, in some ways that speaks to him kind of wanting to be securely in another job before he gave us kudos. And the way that Fred said, "Oh, I'm so glad he landed on his feet," made it seem like he was really in a weird situation once we fired him, like he was scrambling. And then he had to get things okay before he could come and say thank you to us. I get that. I can understand that to a degree. Some people may be like, this is just like whatever. It is what it is. I'm glad this finally happened. It would have been a real kind of insult to the country of Canada if Nick had not made a post like he did this morning. Seriously, man. It's just bad optics, bad PR, and bad kind of like taking care of your legacy behind you as you leave. We get it. You're going to go coach Philly. You're an arch enemy now. And in some ways, we were not like you because we're going to have to battle with you, the Raptors and the Sixers. And, let's kind of soften things a little bit before you leave and not just leave with like kind of seeming like you're pissed off. Because if he had not made this post this morning, I was going to go off on him because he basically had a very small statement in the beginning of the presser yesterday of his introduction to the Philadelphia 76ers franchise. And it was very like, I was going to analyze that, but now that he's put this out, there's more to it. But like what he said in that presser is very basic. And I shared it in the Facebook chat yesterday. He said, "This is the first time I've been in front of the media since I left Toronto. So the first thing I'd like to say is that it was a great 10 year. It was 10 great years in Toronto. Masai Ujiri and Larry Tannenbaum and Bobby Webster, everybody, they treated me really well there. It was a fascinating city, fascinating country, lots of good players, etc. So very, very grateful for those 10 years for sure." Now, that is all he had said. And it was really kind of shoehorned right in the beginning before he got into like his Philadelphia stuff, talking to their press and introducing himself to them and stuff like that. And I was like, is this all we're going to get? Seriously? He's going to shoehorn and just kind of as an afterthought aside, throw this in at the beginning. And that if he just sat on this without doing what he did this morning, he would have left out thanking the fans. Because seriously, in this statement that I just read from yesterday in the press conference, he doesn't say anything about the fans. He thanks the front office and he thanks the players even. And I'm like, well, the fans and the players, I mean, the players in the organization are the ones, you got fired by and you got tuned out by, but you won't turn around and thank the city or the country or the fans. In fact, you could read the statement. It was a fascinating city, fascinating country, as like a kind of like not totally a compliment. That's not like fascinating is not the right word to kind of like compliment Canada. It's kind of like that's ambiguous. That could mean a lot of different things. Seriously. Knowing like being a wordsmith and being somebody who really understands like how you can write text and really like be careful with your words and mean like something that's kind of like okay, but not really complimentary. That's not very complimentary. He's saying it was a fascinating city and a fascinating country. More I thought about it, I was like, maybe he did have a problem with the fans. Maybe we were calling him out for what he was doing on the down low with clutch and sabotaging our season, and we were blowing his cover. Maybe we were too smart. Maybe this study that came out in the last couple of days that the Raptors fan base is too smart is right. We're like Scooby Doo, and we figured out his little mystery and pulled the mask off of him before the end of it happened. He wanted to do this all undercover and make sure he could get out of here quick without nobody realizing what he actually did. The casuals and the very like positive, like people that kind of maybe watch 10 Raptor games a season and consider themselves fans, they have no idea why real ones like us are upset with him or are really kind of mad at him. They're like, oh, why would you be mad at him? He gave us a championship. He did so many good things for the community and stuff like that. Well, do you understand exactly what he did this year? Because I don't think you do. And that's the thing that's the problem with it. Like I said earlier, it seems like Nick does everything in the wrong order. Like he won a championship in the wrong order. He won it in his first year. It's just how he is, I guess. He's just like a weird wrong order guy. I'm going to talk about my press conference in Philadelphia before the season's over when I'll flip flop my press conferences. I'll flip flop my thank you notes. I'll flip flop my getting my NBA championship as a rookie head coach. In some ways, I'm going to not go so salty right now just because he gave us what we asked finally. A little late. And honestly, I'm not really blown away with your statement. There's not a lot of heart in it. It's just kind of a blanket skeleton kind of normal kind of thing, but we'll take it. It is what it is. But, in some ways, listen, at this point, I'm with you, bro. You're over there. You're in Philly. You're on the other side of the border. You're a Sixer now, and you are the enemy. So going forward, I'm not going to be very kind to him. If you're a Nick Nurse lover here, you may not hear me say very nice things about him because it's going to be like Vince Carter for me. This is very much a situation, except it's a coach instead of a player, where I am not too thrilled with the guy. I'm not going to celebrate him until he retires. And once again, when people like LeBron, Kobe, Vince, Nick Nurse retire, then I can celebrate them because otherwise they're like dead to me in some ways as a fan as far as cheering for them. I mean, LeBron and Kobe are different. They're just great. But when they retire, I can really like give them adulation for their accomplishments. But when they're the enemy and I don't want to root for them. And I am a hater. But Nick and Vince, very much going to be a similar kind of thing. Nick, you gave up on us. You quit on us. The Cardinals sin, just like VC did. And I'm sorry, bro. Until you retire, until you step away from the sidelines of the NBA, you are an enemy to me. And I will not be putting good words out about you. I do appreciate that you will be continuing your foundation here in town. I do appreciate the nice letter this morning. Finally, it is finally showing some sort of class, even if it's very, very late. And also, whatever, man. In some ways, I just want to wash my hands of it. I know MSJ saying in the comments here, he's like, I agree. Dana's saying first, this whole Nick Nurse thing is too weird. He looked uncomfortable and the press was brutal. Yeah. Yes. Listen, Nick, if you do have a problem with our fan nation and Toronto fans or Canadians in general, wait until you get a load of the Philadelphia fans. In fact, you may be like using us as a dig at them someday down the road when they treat you so badly. Maybe they hurt your little ego. And then boom, all of a sudden you're going to be comparing how the Toronto fans were so wonderful when I used to be back there just to get at the Philly fans. That one reporter in Philadelphia, Erskine, he's notorious and he's a legend. He pressed Nick on the Harden question. He asked Harden, he's like, have you talked to James? Are you good with James? And he pressed him on it. In fact, he interrupted him. And I love that. And when he did that, if you watch really closely, because this is what I do, I watch tells, I watch psychological tells, and I watch certain things. Nick got infuriated when that guy treated him that way in that press conference. In fact, his ego showed. He made a tell where he was really pissed with his face. I've seen it so many times before in Raptors press conferences that a reporter will rub him wrong and he will make a certain face. And usually it has something to do with rubbing his ego wrong. And I think that it's just that they're questioning that whether he could get along with James or not. Well, there's good reason why people would question that, because you've outspokenly put him down in public that, James and you probably won't get along and he's probably gone. And it was hilarious to hear you talk about, yes, I would like him to come and play for us, but I know it's James's decision. yeah, you know he's not going to play for you. You know he's gone, and you know the Sixers will be hurting for it. So, man, it's hilarious. In some ways, the ambiguity of the exit of Nick Nurse is putting a target on Masai Ujiri. And I totally disagree with this. There's a lot of Raptors fans that are saying it's Masai's fault that he fired Nick, and it's not Nick's fault. Y'all are completely wrong. If you had watched this season as closely as we did on this channel, you would realize that Nick had to be fired, that he had became very, very toxic on our team in so many different ways. And you're going to say, oh, it's Masai's fault for making the mistake of firing him. No, he did exactly what he needed to do, and he did a tough decision. In some ways, this is some of the convenient backlash that maybe Nick wanted to get back at Masai's. Make it ambiguous, make him look like the bad guy in the whole thing, but he isn't, y'all. And y'all need to stop saying that it's Masai's fault and that if that firing him was a big mistake, because he couldn't do anything. He had to fire him. Clutch's playbook worked to a T this season, and they have dislodged Nick out of a very comfy, secure, good job in Toronto, and it worked to a T. They did exactly what they wanted to do. In fact, recently, I remember hearing a rumor in the last 2 years, somebody saying that Nick Nurse will become the Philadelphia head coach at some point. At that time, it sounded so crazy and surreal and laughable in the position with the Raptors and the Sixers that I was like, what the, who would put this out? This is the craziest rumor. I heard the rumor about Nick going to Philly at some point. I didn't realize that Daryl Morey was probably laying the tracks for this for the last couple years. You know, their friendship from working together at Houston, there was probably a line of communication and maybe even just half-ass joking that Daryl Morey was doing where, you know, Nick, you could come to Philadelphia and work with me. That'd be great, wouldn't it? I'd love that if you did that. And Nick's like, yeah, I'm with the Raptors, Daryl. Sorry. He's like, you know, if it does change, you know, we would love to land you here in Toronto and Philadelphia. You know, that there could have very well been that Morey's been suitoring him for a while already, and that now things just happen to work in a very, very weird way. Like maybe Morey was working with Clutch. Maybe they were working with the NBA in general, because there's a lot of weird like connections, and people are finally putting the puzzle pieces together. Like Amit Man, he posted a thing yesterday. He said, why is it that the press conference that messed everything up with the Raptors and Nick Nurse happened in Philadelphia? And specifically, Keith Pompey was the reporter from Philadelphia that was asking the question. There's a lot of manipulation that happened in this on the download that was planned. And to the average Raptors fan or an NBA fan, they probably wouldn't see all this. There were many, many connections to Philadelphia that were shown in different places, even as an adversary for Nick. So this is such a weird fit. And I do remember somebody floating a rumor that Nick Nurse would be the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers someday. Well, it's come true. He came in and he did his press conference yesterday. Yeah, he looked very uncomfortable, Dana, didn't he? He looked like shit still. He looks tired. He looks stressed out. You know, when he sat down and at that table with those two gentlemen, the VP and Daryl Morey, you know, they look like losers. Honestly, the way they talk, you can go listen to Bobby Webster. You can go listen to Masai Ujiri when they speak. Like, I'm going to talk about Masai and what he did yesterday in just a bit. But you get a feeling of like, this person is competent. This person's well-spoken. This person is like really good at their job. This person's professional. You listen to those jabronis that spoke before Nick Nurse yesterday in that Philadelphia press conference, you get the loser vibes. You get the vibes of a shaky kind of like Daryl Morey seems like that character that Chris Farley used to play where he had lived in a van down by the river. That's the vibes I get from that guy. Everybody says, oh, he's so smart and such a great GM. What has he done that's been so successful? Has he ever won anything? No, he hasn't. And like, I don't get it. He seems like he's just some weird dude that just fumbled into like NBA jobs. Like, I have no trust in him. And honestly, the way that the vibe was at that table with Nick in the middle was very loserish. Like, those guys have loser vibes. And I could tell Nick was feeling the loser vibes at the table in between the two of them. He did not look comfortable. He did not look like he fit. And the press came after him right away. This is the thing, Nick. You think that we're bad. You think somebody like me who tears you up every morning at 9:30 in the morning for coaching decisions and stuff like that. Like, you know, I defended you a lot this year against most of the hate against you this year, but now I will not. You think that our fan nation's so bad? Well, we're Canadian. We at least have some sort of niceness and manners to us for a lot of us. But in Philly, you're not going to find that. And as soon as something goes and a little bit screwed up, which it will, I know it will, I can 100% tell you that there's going to be all kinds of friction and stupid shit that happens to you in Philly. The fans will turn on you, and you're going to wish you had our fan nation behind you instead. In fact, in some ways, you're ripping up a fan nation that really did love you and support you and really, really cared about you a lot, and turn your back on them. And now you're going to go with this new fan nation, as you put, a great, fantastic fan base, as you put it. You wouldn't mention us yesterday, but you'd said some stuff about Philly's fan base. Well, you're going to find out real quick that it's not the same. Those reporters are already showing you that they're not going to be softballing you stuff like Lewinberg and Orrin Weisfeld and all those guys that you dealt with up here in Toronto. No, you're going to have some hard ass questions, and they will come at you, and they will interrupt you, and they will question you, and your ego may get bruised, and you may give tells, and you're like pissed off at them. And just wait until you lose some or you have some sort of problems. The Philly fans will come at you so crazy in social media. You'll be wishing you were dealing with the Toronto Raptors fan base at some point. Seriously. I mean, look, whatever. He said all the right things. He said some really funny things too. He did get that jab in about the way the ball bounces. That was pretty hilarious. That may have been the one shot fired for us in that particular press conference when he said, season, they could be playing tonight. I think the Sixers should have been playing tonight in the finals. But the season's about health and the way the ball bounces. Wink, wink, wink. And I love that. Go ahead, Nick. Get one more shot in for us. Philly fans felt that. I'm sure they did. They felt that just a little bit. And in fact, when he was in the press conference, he kept referring us to we. He kept saying the Raptors. We would do this to Joel. We would do this. He's going to have to train himself to realize you're not a Raptor anymore, bro. You're a Sixer. And whether you like it or not, that's how it is now at this point. I don't think he totally liked this option and what was going to happen. I don't think he totally wanted to go there. Seriously, if he wanted to be in Philadelphia, why isn't he smiley and happy and so excited to be there? He's pissed because he got fired and he didn't want to get fired. And until everybody realizes that and starts thinking about that, you won't understand what's going on there. You think that he wanted to leave the Raptors? Maybe Clutch wanted him to leave. But in some ways, his heart didn't. His family being uprooted, he really wanted to be a part of Canadian culture. He really wanted to be a part of here. And it's a really ugly thing how this is all turned. And in some ways, he's just, I'm serious, he's still petty about it. So we'll have to see how this all goes. MSJ saying, I agree. And I really hope today isn't too much about Nick Nurse. He's gone and to me, forgotten. Let's talk NBA Finals, maybe. Yes, Denver taking care of business in the first game, MSJ. Fantastic lead, very dominant. Miami taking some shots at trying to come back late, but Denver weathering the storm and making a very powerful statement in the first game of the finals with two guys scoring over 25 points and getting over 10 assists. That's not happened since the Showtime Lakers with James Worthy and Irvin Magic Johnson in the 80s. That two players on the same team in the finals did that stat with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. So good stuff, Nuggets. Now you got 3 more to go. And they're not going to let down on the gas. These guys are professionals. They're serious. They're fundamentally good. They have one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league right now. And they're going to win a championship. Everybody who thinks that Kyle and Jimmy have it in them to do something in this, you're crazy. This is a real basketball team they're facing. Y'all are tenacity and pros and vets, but y'all are not a real basketball team like the Denver Nuggets are, and they are going to show it that they are the creme de la creme. I'm with MSJ. I'm going to forget him for a bit. I've gotten what I needed now today, and we won't see him until he comes see us. And trust me, I will talk about Nick Nurse a lot this season. It won't be very nice or kind, but I will limit it to the times when it's appropriate, and I will not harp on him over and over again for the rest of the summer. Trust me, we can lay this to rest. Let him go do his setup and whatever he's going to do this summer with them, trying to talk James into staying, whatever. And we will move on with our own business also. So, yeah, there are great things to talk about otherwise than just Nick Nurse and his opening press conference yesterday. A very important press conference later in the day here in OVO Center here in Toronto with Masai Ujiri. Nick Nurse may be with the man with the van down by the river. Well, Masai Ujiri's with the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, yesterday, declaring today Gun Violence Awareness, Stop Gun Violence Awareness Day. Every first Friday of June will now be this going forward, and they're asking everyone to wear all white. So if you can wear white today in in representing wanting to stop gun violence in Canada, that would be really good. Just some facts on some of the stuff that happened yesterday. We had a couple of speakers come out, Masai included, Justin Trudeau, and also the Honorable Marco Mendicino, Minister of Public Safety. Lots of different stuff. This is what Trudeau said: gun violence is a real and serious threat. The annual National Day Against Gun Violence will serve as a solemn reminder of the lives lost, of the families who live with the ongoing pain, and of our collective responsibility to do everything we can to prevent these senseless tragedies by putting an end to gun violence. And that press conference, if y'all have not watched it, is really good. There's a guy from America that comes here and he says that America and Canada need to work together on this problem. And obviously, the problem is much worse in the United States. But if we have success with certain things, maybe the United States can learn from us and maybe improve their situation down south. I really loved what Trudeau said yesterday. I know there's a lot of people that do not like Trudeau. I think it's unfair to a degree. And there's a lot of just like mudslinging in politics that really has kind of tainted people on their opinion of him. When he came and he spoke yesterday, he was on fire. He is a very good leader. And the things that he said, he came true with. I watched him for bullshit, and he is for real about this. If he's going to try and protect our borders from more smuggling of guns from the United States into Canada, I'm all for it. In fact, the things he outlined and said about how to combat gun violence in Canada are exactly the things that will fix some of the problems, whether it's watching things at the border, stiffer penalties for people that are involved in the illegal gun smuggling trade. And also, it's very important to make light of where the gun violence happens and in what areas of life, like, gender-based violence in relationships or just hate crimes against people like trans people or indigenous people, different things like that. These are all important things to make note of in this whole situation. They don't really want to take guns from law abiding citizens. That's not what's going on here. They want to get less guns off more guns off the street. The prevalence of guns in the United States is a lot of the reason why people are just getting shot left and right in weird places and situations right now. So we don't want to be like the United States in this way. And I commend Justin Trudeau for being very much a very good leader on this subject and making things happen. This is a very big deal. This is a issue very dear to my heart. Is something that I studied very intensely in grad school when I studied mortality and sociology. So whatever Justin's doing, I know some of y'all may hate him for this or that or this. What he did with Masai yesterday was important, and I commend them for making the first Friday every June this kind of day. So please wear white today in support of trying to stop gun violence in Canada. There's a lot of stats that I have in front of me that will really make you understand that this is a real problem. That there's a lot of guns coming in the country from the US, and there's a lot of just stupid stuff happening that just doesn't need to happen. Now, I don't want to get too political today, but that's what Masai was doing yesterday. And he came off really, really good. And I really commend that whole press conference and everything it stood for. They had families of victims from shootings in the last couple of years. We had this thing that just happened in Hamilton last week where a landlord shot the two tenants in his basement because they complained about the mold in their apartment. That's the crazy thing. People get real petty with guns and they have final solutions and they make really bad mistakes when they wouldn't have those options if they didn't have that kind of final solution nearby. And two young lives that really didn't do anything wrong are now dead in Hamilton. So anything we can do to stop gun violence in Canada and be less like the United States and what's turning out like a crazy Wild West country down there, the better. Because in some ways, we're better than them. And we're better than this kind of violence and barbaric kind of stuff in society. So I commend Masai Ujiri and Justin Trudeau for their press conference yesterday. Very, very important stuff. In fact, way more important than anything that happened in Philadelphia yesterday. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke is saying, so awkward. What a gong show. Whatever. Nick's got to be nervous. Can we please get a 7-footer that breaks triple doubles and assist records? Pretty please, Masai. He wants a Nikola Jokic. It sounds like he wants a Nikola Jokic right there. Jokic is finally getting his shine as a superstar in this league. He gets to sit down with Shaq and them after the game. He's finally getting put more on blast as a superstar. This guy is a superstar. He may be a little unconventional. He may be European, but the dude's funny and he's real. He's genuine and he's likable. That's the great thing. So NBA, seriously, stop trying to manufacture your superstars of who you want to put on blast, like Ja Morant and Zion Williamson, and maybe take to the natural ones that actually deserve it and that actually you may find that they're actually really good people to market and put on blast, like Nicola. That's what I think I'm finding out. It's really funny. Adam Silver said yesterday, and somebody said, this is like your mom wanting to punish you because company's still around. He said he's got more goods on Ja Morant. They investigated him further and the recent thing that happened. And there's a lot more. And it sounds like he's going to come down on him like crazy. But he said he didn't want to like distract from the NBA finals. So he's waiting till the finals are over to punish Ja Morant. It very much is a situation like where your mom says, when this company leaves, you're in trouble. That's kind of what's happening here. Ja, you're going to get punished after the finals are over because he doesn't want to distract. But it really sounds like he's going to drop the hammer on you, man, that he's found more that he does not like when he investigated your recent episode of flashing a gun on Instagram. Yeah, this is crazy. That's what I'm saying. Nicola, that's the kind of superstar you want to push. Jimmy Butler, that's the kind of superstar you want to push, NBA. Stop forcing who you think we should be getting pushed on. Let's take the natural ones, the ones who deserve it, the ones we want to champion and celebrate, like Jokic and Butler, and stop pushing guys that are chumps like Ben Simmons and Ja Morant. You got to push the ones that are good for the league, and these guys are the right ones, the ones I named before. All right, Mike's here. Good to see Mike. Salute the real ones. Project Truth always. Logical Raptors fanatic. Check out his YouTube channel. I saw the whole vid of Nick. He talked about us in positive ways. I'm okay with it. Mike, I was thinking when I was watching it, I'd like Mike to do his treatment with Nick's interview in Philadelphia yesterday. So if you do anything later on with that video, kind of breaking it down, please do. He did say we with us a lot, and that was a tell that his head is still with us here in Toronto until he gets in the ground. He really starts working with those guys, and then maybe the we will become the Sixers. But in that press conference, a lot of the we was Toronto and him. And, that's the weird transition for him right now. He's got to rewire his brain to a degree. And it may be really like not natural. I'm really feeling like he's not going to be happy there. It doesn't look like he's happy already. And like the stuff with like the way the Philly reporters came at him about Embiid and Harden and him was really awesome. In fact, a lot of the Raptors fans on Twitter are enjoying the Philly press coming at Nick Nurse. They're back there with popcorn, just like, "Woo, I want to see this!" And they're like, "This is how you do it, Toronto press. That's how you get on him and hold him accountable." Instead of the softball questions y'all gave him for 5 years. That's kind of part of the fun is going to be between the Philly fans interacting with him interacting with his superstars, and then him interacting with the Philly press. There's going to be a lot of side entertainment for Raptors fans this year. And we'll just make it positive and fun and be trolls and laugh about it because it is going to be fun from far away. Now, Mike, I know you have a way you watch everything in certain ways. There was some things about that press conference that really pissed me off. But there was some stuff that actually did make me feel pretty good about things. Nick is so funny. They brought up the load management thing with him. They were like, "Oh, you were so successful with Kawhi Leonard load managing him in the championship year you had in Toronto. How will you load manage Joel?" And the funny thing was, Nick gave the tell that he has nothing to do with the load management, even with his answer. He said, "Well, we set up ahead of time which games we look at the whole year ahead of time, and we already scheduled the games when he get low managed at the beginning of the season." And honestly, that's not Nick Nurse, Sixers fans. Y'all think he's a load manager, but he is not. It's Alex McKechnie. It's Dr. Alex McKechnie, who is the load manager, the guy who kept track of when Kawhi should be playing or not, and the one who set up that schedule with Kawhi before the season started. Nick had to play with that schedule within it. So y'all keep thinking that he's going to load manage Joel and keep him from injury. He's not. He's more likely to run him ragged and get him hurt than he is load manage him. So y'all keep thinking he's a load manager because he's not. Our doctor is for our team, and he is still here in Toronto. It's so funny that they think he's going to load manage Joel. Oh, that is good pure jokes right there. Oh my gosh. All right, Nameless is here. Nameless is my paisan. He is one with me. He's a good dude. I love Nameless. Okay, I'm convinced people within our organization are actively listening to our channel. Without a doubt, my Italian senses are tingling. You might very well be right, Nameless. I mean, we are a great, unsolicited, easy place for them to just check the water and the temperature of what's going on with us here. You may very well be right, Nameless. I know I directly was interacting with Nav. I went and checked because Fiercey said that Nav replied to her. Well, he replied to me also. There was a whole exchange kind of going back and forth with me and Not Batia yesterday a little bit. Maybe I should bring it up so you guys can see exactly what we were saying to each other, including Fiercey saw Sarah's interaction with him also. Let's see. First of all, I said, this is on Nav's letter from yesterday. I said, he is hurting his legacy because of Clutch's influence. And then Nav said, not at all. Winning changes everything. This is the business side of sports. His legacy remains as long as we show him love. Well, that's true, Nav. We have to show him love for him to still have a legacy. If we all don't like him, he has no legacy with us. And some of us may not. And so I wrote Nav back. I said, I agree in the end, his legacy will be intact, much like Vince. But why can't he just do just a little to show love for our fan nation that loved and supported him so much? It doesn't take much, and the other coaches did it easily in seemingly tougher situations. Nav, if something bad has happened to Nick personally, we feel for him. But this is so confusing to us fans. He seems rude and petty right now. There you go. And what he even replied to some other people, and he was telling them, he's like, don't worry, he will give it a moment. He will respond to us, and he has this morning. He's right. He did at this point. And I wrote more to him. I said, this is what I said to him yesterday afternoon after the press conference before this morning. I said to Nav, I hope that wasn't the message we should expect shoehorned as an aside into his intro presser in Philly. Very sad. He thanks Masai, who fired him, and the players who tuned him out, but he forgets the fans in the country to thank. Then he talks about the Philly fan base. Horrible PR and probably calculated by Clutch. As you say, Nav, it's definitely business, but why does this feel so personal? Nav, you are the best. Keep being a leader for us in the Raptors Nation. So I was very cool with him and stuff like that. So, and then, Nick's wife was on here in the comment section, the same comment section with us too. And she's saying, well said to Nav, of course. And, we do wish them well as a family and as people. It's really a sports rivalry, like hate right now with Nick. It's just like, if the Yankee goes to the Red Sox, it's the same thing. It's the same kind of stuff. It really is. And of course, Fiercey said, I don't know what transpired between front office and him at their final meeting, but he could have at least had the decency to thank the city of Toronto and fans who supported him all these years. Other coaches gracefully thank their ex-organizations despite being fired. Hashtag no class. And then Nav said straight to Fiercey, he was very grateful for everything this country gave to him. Give him a moment. Let the dust settle. He's still our Canadian coach. He hasn't gone anywhere yet. So, there's a lot of that on that post. And I get it. In some ways, we are the intense end of the Raptors fan nation because we're very positive and we love the team so much. We're different than the negative trolls, the people who are coming at them. We're the people that will very much blindly support people that are with us in our company. But once they're gone, they don't have that immunity from me. Trust me. I am much a company man with the Raptors. And if you turn your back on us, well, that's it. That's how it is. And it's like, look, I'll love Nick Nurse when he retires. I'll love him kind of on the down low anyway, still. But he is the enemy now, and we are going to be going head to head with him in our own division. And it's a grudge match at this point. In fact, in some ways, they don't want us to be good. The NBA is really trying to destroy the Raptors from being a perennial top team in the East. They want us to be in the bottom. They're really, really trying to hurt us by taking some of the best things that have to do with us. And Nick Nurse, what we thought was ungettable because Masai said at the beginning of the season, well, he was. And this sucks. We got to circle the wagons and get back to the drawing board and get the next best great coach in our organization very soon. I bet you it's going to happen very, very soon. So, yeah, this is crazy. This is very crazy. It's just unnatural and weird. But I had a premonition that this might happen, that Nick Nurse might be the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. So very, very interesting. Nameless, his senses are tingling. His Italian senses are tingling. Cool Cat's here. Good to see Cool Cat. Another great Raptor Freak. We love Cool Cat. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Nick Nurse is going to have a tough time with the media over in Philly. No more Toronto nice media. This is for sure. Seriously, that Erskine guy just himself. I really do think there's a connection between him, Keith Pompey, Daryl Morey, and Nick Nurse and what happened. I really do believe there's some really calculated things that happen. If you think about our relationship or things that happened with Philly last season, we had that back-to-back game against them at the beginning of the season. The first week of the season, we had to play Philly 2 games in a row right away, and we split them. We actually beat them the first game, and then we lost the second game. And then we lost the rest of the games in the season. Well, Nick tuned out and changed and went rogue in December. So everything that happened at the beginning of the season, right up until he took that leave of absence in December, he was still regular Nick Nurse and he was on our side. It was after he took that leave of absence that everything went south with us and got very toxic and bad. In fact, that was right around when David Thorpe warned us and Nick took that time around. So everything kind of from mid-December, instead of clicking in the right way like the year before, it clicked the wrong way. And Nick was the epicenter of it. So, man, the beginning of the season, things were okay. But there's a lot of weird indications that a lot of this was planned ahead of time and manipulated to get to this outcome. There's some really weird interactions with Philadelphia people and Nick before all this stuff went down. And I really blame Daryl Morey and Clutch that they were probably working in conjunction to try and get this to happen. And this may be why Masai is so pissed off and frustrated at the end of the season, because they forced his hand to have to fire him so that he would be loose and he could come to the Sixers. It's also very telling that Nick went to that team out of the other teams. The other jobs were way better. Seriously. So this was prearranged that he would go to Philadelphia. He would have been much better in Milwaukee. They're trying to say, oh, he stepped aside for his friend Adrian and made sure he got a job also. And in some ways, you could read that into is like, despite the Raptors, so they wouldn't have Adrian for sure. That could be part of it. But the Philly job, is not as good as Phoenix. And that's what I'm saying. This was all prearranged, maybe even 6 months before this, while the season was still going on. Like maybe even sometime in January or February, they were already reaching out to Nick. He was tuning out and he was already moving towards the Sixers, even while he was coaching games for the Raptors. I'm telling you, it could be because this was all set up and this was all put into motion and this was a plan. Nick's trying to act like he didn't understand or what happened. He's not a very good actor. You can watch Murdoch Mysteries and you will see he's not a very good actor. And that's part of the problem is right now he's not acting right in the whole situation because he can't. He's very honest and true with who he is. And he looks like a snake. And the way he's acting, he's not comfortable being a liar. And that's a whole part of the problem with what's happened just now is he's not being his genuine self. And that's why he looks so stressed out and weird, because he had to kind of do something underhanded to leave Toronto. And he's trying to make it look like he's a victim in all this when he is not. He is the one who made it all orchestrated. This was all planned before. Daryl Morey could have talked to him at the All-Star break and said, yeah, you're going to be my coach in 3 months. We'll make it happen. So, yeah, there's a lot of messed up stuff about this. Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J, a great Raptor freak. What a game last night. Denver's going to win the series. They're too good for Miami. Miami has no answer for Denver's big man. Yeah, this is true. At one point, they were trying to have Lowry underneath the basket to try and seal them out. That's a big trouble. If you're starting to get rim protection from our Grote, Kalo, he's the guy who's going to stop him. Where's Bam? Where's anybody else who's over 6'5", trying to stop them down low near the basket? It's hilarious. Good stuff, Denver. All business. And Miami did try and come up and chomp at y'all. But y'all were very much all business and doing things right. Jamal Murray's fantastic. I love seeing the kid from Kitchener killing it right now for the Nuggets. And, it's a valiant effort by the Heat, but this is the Nuggets Cup. to win and take home and get for the first time ever for that franchise. You go Nuggets. I'm a big fan right now. I love the legend of Nikola Jokic right now. In fact, he's one of my favorite players in the league right now with this easy, go lucky kind of attitude and just the way he fills up the stat sheet. How can you not like that kind of greatness? You are a hater if you do not like Nikola Jokic right now. And you go ahead and make Joel look stupid as the season MVP because he really does look stupid as the season MVP right now. It should have been, in some ways, the way Jokic is doing things right now, maybe he did deserve 3 season MVPs right in a row because we're seeing some crazy stuff with triple doubles in the postseason that have never been seen since Wilt Chamberlain. So I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have given that MVP to Joel this year. And Nicholas should have been a 3-time MVP because in some ways he deserves it. You know, they're looking at where he will rank in the all-time greats, and they're starting to say, you're going to be better than Dirk. You're going to be better than Kevin Garnett. You're going to be better than all these other guys. You're going to be in a different level, Nikola, because of your accomplishments are way, way better than a lot of them. And that's true. He's going to be in the higher rankings of one of the greatest players ever in the history of the NBA at some point. He will be a top 25 NBA player of all time for sure. For sure, if not top 20. Yeah, and that's all time I'm talking about right now. Yeah, Nacho the Nacho is in the house. Check out Nacho the Nacho at Comedy Bar and many other establishments doing his stand-up. His name is Gerald Mayhew, and you may see him on stage. Let's see, Nuggets in 6. Philly media seems more rude. Yes, thank you, Philly media. I love you, Philadelphia, for who you are, because it's going to make things so fun for Nick Nurse. Yeah, it is. I don't know if Nurse has the depth he needs. I don't think he chose Philly despite us. He could like Philly defense more than the Suns. That's ridiculous. I mean, in some ways, it is kind of comparable. Their defenses are kind of both of them. You know, listen, no, come on, Gerald. Seriously, he came there because of the personal relationship with Daryl Morey, and Daryl Morey actively solicited him to come there. And it's just a byproduct that he's going to get to stick it to his old team also in such a close proximity. You know, yeah, you know, he doesn't. I don't think that they have a lot of depth on the Sixers. You know, a lot of what he was saying in that press conference was interesting. You know, he did nod that he won't be able to do the same things he did with Toronto, with Philadelphia, with their personnel, and that he is going to have to cater to Joel and kind of really baby and think about what he wants and really kowtow to him. That is very much the truth. Now, I don't know if Nick's going to enjoy that very much. He may have that kind of relationship with the top guys on our team, like Fred and stuff, but with Joel, it may be a little more chaotic and not always kind of like seeing eye to eye at times. Yeah, I think he did choose. He chose Philly. Obviously, he did, Naco. He chose Philly, and it was all prearranged. I'm telling you, they had this all coming down the pipeline before, and we were doomed as Raptors fans to see our coach walk this summer. He can act like this is a shock to him and that he did want to get fired, but that's bullshit. He orchestrated it to get to this point, and he forced Masai's hand. And now everybody's going to say, oh, it's Masai's fault. He's an idiot for firing Nick. He's such a good coach. That's just another positive byproduct for Nick and causing chaos and mayhem for us. Is the ambiguity of what actually happened is not clear. And a lot of people will just read into it that it's Masai's fault. Well, y'all are wrong. It's Nick's fault. Seriously, don't act like he's a victim. He orchestrated this to happen. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, where's the Nick Nurse press release? It's on Instagram on his page. It's basically right there. It's finally there. And it was funny when I saw it. It's like, now you do it. Oh, my gosh. Randolph Phillips is saying, good morning, beloved, most informative gang. Nurse has risen from the ashes. Now on to good and much better things. Ooh, I don't want them to be good and much better things. Fuck that. He had the best thing for his career here in the 5 years he was here. Everything else needs to be a downhill. No championships, no success. I don't want Philly to get past the second round since they talked about that so much. No, none of this happens. We want him to fail. I want him to fail. Some Raptors fans are saying, oh, no, we don't want him to fail so that his legacy will look good with us. No, bullshit. This isn't like Kawhi and the Clippers. This is shots fired. This is directly across from us, sitting at the front of the front lines in the battles in the NBA. That's the Philadelphia 76ers. And if y'all forgot how much amity and not niceness we have with the Sixers from playoffs and all these different times, Y'all are crazy. So no, Randolph, I am not. He can rise from the ashes or whatever, but no good stuff for him. No good stuff for him. All failure, all misery and bad professional things, good personal things, happiness at home, good things with the kids and the wife. But at work, very, very stressful, awful, and horrible things. That's what I'm wishing him for. Yeah, there you go. Mike saying, Nako, it really seemed like Nick and Morey are good friends, and that's part of it too. The way Morey was talking about finally having a partner in the coach. Well, he's been lobbying and trying to do this on the down low in probably really disgusting, bad ways for a long time. He probably would just see Nick as friends because they knew each other. And he said, one day I'm going to get you back again. You're going to be working with me by in the van by down by the river again at some point. And I'm like, okay, but I'm really happy in Toronto. Trust me, Nick, you'll get here somehow. It's so disgusting. Keith Pompey, Daryl Morey, Clutch, Rich Paul, Nick Nurse, they're the ones to blame for what's happened. Yeah. Let's see. MSJ saying, fascinating, Nick. What is Toronto? Something out of Willy Wonka's factory? Laugh out loud. Best to move on, Raptor freaks, and watch Philly eat them alive. This will be fast. That'll be fascinating. You're getting a dunk for that, MSJ. I love that you turned that whole stupid comment he made. You're getting a dunk. That will be fascinating to see his interaction, especially with his fragile eagle. I'm telling you, he gets challenged in press conferences. He shows signs of being very irritated and kind of mad. He's like huffy, or he's like, how dare you even question me on that or think that? Oh, I can't get along with James. Go watch that press conference. You'll see him do that. When they ask him about James, he's like, you don't think I can get along with James? It's the arrogance. It's the ego. It's who he is. And it's showing. And it's going to be fun when it butts, because at some point, maybe he'll go off with a reporter in a press conference, and there could be some real gold in that, watching that. Then maybe at one point he loses his cool with Erskine, and then boom, all of a sudden, popcorn eating time for the Raptors. Woo! Look at what just happened over there in Philly. Oh, Nick Nurse and in the press conference, y'all. Woo! I wouldn't put it past him, because Nick has been feisty in a way where he will go back at the reporter. Some Philly fans will love that feistiness with him, but it's going to be like gross, and it'll be funny. It'll be funny, the conflict. It will definitely be. It'll be fascinating, as you put it. Yeah. Fascinating isn't exactly the right descriptor. Like, it doesn't. It's kind of like my dad used to call them left-handed compliments. It's kind of like it's a compliment, but is it? Oh, it's fascinating city, fascinating country. And he's already kind of like, that's part of it too. He has to take part of his identity, because he's very much like, I want to be honorary Canadian. He said that at the coach's open house. Well, now he doesn't. And in some ways, maybe he's like F Canada. And that may be why we need to get him off Team Canada as soon as possible also. I don't trust him coaching our team for our Olympic team now. I really, really don't. And they may need to make that move as soon as possible if he does not get an Olympic berth in FIBA World Cup in August. And I want him fired from that team. He does not need to be in the next cycle of Canadian basketball for the Olympics. They need to get a new coach after that, because he does not need to be around. And maybe he's like okay with it because he doesn't want to do all the travel anyway. But for right now, it sounds like he is going to try and hold on to the stuff he has up here in Canada that matters to him, like the Nick Nurse Foundation and also coaching Team Canada. But I don't trust him on Team Canada. Seriously, I seen what he did this year with the Raptors, and I do not trust him coaching that team or putting in the right effort. In fact, in some ways, I could see him turning into kind of like one of these Americans that looks down on Canada, even though he was here for so long and it was a part of our community and all this kind of stuff. That can happen real quick. It's really, really weird thing. It's really, really weird thing. All right, let's keep going. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam, and happy Friday. Nick Nurse's introductory presser felt cringe at times. It won't be easy over there for him. I'm not bought in with this exit note. Yeah, I'm not either, Fiercely, completely. Great job, Nuggets. Miami was lacking. I think he did the bare minimum this morning. Like, there's not a lot of like real emotion in it. It's very just like kind of a press release kind of thing, and we don't feel it. Like, in some ways, if you read his note and then you read Coach Budenholzer's note, you would see the difference I'm talking about. That it's not a very warm note, and it's just kind of like I have to do it kind of note is basically what it is. And once again, it's very, very late. I counted the days. You got fired on April the 21st. What is today? June the 2nd. That's 43 days. 43 days ago, you got fired, Nick. And Doc had his letter out the day of 2 hours after he was fired. So yeah, it's really crazy. It's really, really crazy and a weird situation. But like I said, I will be washing my hands of talking about Nick Nurse all the time as much as I can. Only when necessary, when we need to. Let's see. Trevor's saying the reporters in Philadelphia don't even like him. Do you see how they talked to him yesterday? He's going to find out very soon that brotherly love is not for him. I don't have to like him. In fact, I respect and like the Philadelphia reporters because of the way they are in some ways. But they are part of the reason why Philadelphia fails all the time, because they're very good at pulling things apart. This is why I'm tough on our press here in Toronto, because I realize the power they have for perception and really kind of unraveling things. This may be part of the reason why Nick is not real happy with us, is because he saw how much noise was around the team and he was in a bad place. And maybe he did come and listen to people like me. Maybe he did get on Twitter and read all the Nick hate online. And maybe that's part of the reason why he's like, I'm willing to thank the organization and the players, but I don't really want to thank the fans. And he did finally this morning, but in a very kind of general, not very like warm way. So yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. Either way, he did what he needed to do. The prerequisite is done enough, even if it's kind of too little, too late. And Fiercey's kind of like not buying it. I'm the same, but we'll let it go. He did the perfunctory function of what that was supposed to do, and that's basically it. But yeah, he did in the wrong order once again. Why couldn't you do that on Monday before you're officially in Philadelphia or something? Or you need to make sure and be like, yeah, I'm safely here already. In some ways, he's already anticipating that we're going to be hating him to a degree. It's going to be very weird at games when he shows up. There's going to be a huge contingency of the fans that are going to really celebrate him and cheer him. And they're going to be kind of mad at us who boo him. And I think that that's not fair. I think that all fans of the Raptors need to understand there's going to be some of us that want to celebrate him and some of us that will not. And it's all our right in how we are. Some guy got on to me for like talking trash to Nick at one point on one of Nav's posts. And I said, listen, this is a free country still. Do we all have to think the same? Can we not have dissenting opinions? Can I not have my own voice and how I feel about this Nick Nurse situation? Or am I supposed to comply and fall in line with all the other Canadians that are just so happy and gracious and grateful to him? Fuck that. So that's what I'm saying. As much as I don't mind y'all cheering for him when he comes back to town, you better not mind if I boo the hell out of him also. So, we got to have allowance for that. And if you start giving me dirty looks, if I boo Nick Nurse, realize that I know more about the Raptors than you do and that you may not know why I'm booing him. So that's how I'm going to say it there, right there. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Cool Cat is saying, all right, hang on. Wow, I really love how you guys fill it up, and you're really doing good things with the cutoff time. I really appreciate the stream times have been way better recently when we've been able to do that cutoff. It's been fantastic, guys. I really, really have appreciated that. That's really helped the stream in a lot of ways. All right, let's see. I am on Cool Cat. Just saw the Instagram post. Nick Nurse is keeping his foundation in Canada. That's nice. We thank him for the chip and dip. Now we are rivals. Bring on the season to whoop his teams. Let's fucking go, Raptors. We the North. That's a real one right there. That is a real one right there, Cool Cat. There you go. We feel grateful and thank you, Nick, to continue the Nick Nurse Foundation here. We did not know whether you were going to do that. There's no guarantees. And we do appreciate that. And hey, if you're going to do some successful thing with Team Canada in August, in the Southeast Asia, well, we can appreciate that too after the fact. But maybe in some ways that could be the way you could give us a little bit of gratefulness back, or not gratefulness, or just some good faith back to us. If you can really expertly coach our national team to an Olympic berth in a couple months, then there's a lot of things I could forgive you for if you can have very, very strong success in that difficult pool when you guys go to the Philippines. So listen, there are some ways to redeem yourself, even though you're going to be actively one of the public enemy number ones in the NBA competition. So Monique saying, good morning, everyone. Nick Nurse likely to get more boos than cheers, I see. See, I'm trying to figure this out, Mo. Online, there's a lot of overwhelming love and support for him. There are not a lot of detractors or people that are commenting like I have or Fiercey has. And that is just so be it. That's how it is. I think he's going to get a warm reception, just like Vince did, even if some of us will boo him, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And people, if you hear us booing, don't look at down on us or think that we're wrong for doing it. You just don't know enough to know why we're doing it. Space Cadet saying the man was rooting for Philly ever since that game in Philadelphia where he made that press conference before the game. Just let that sink in. Horrible. Yeah, in some ways, like I'm saying, like we got to question everything that we did with as a rappers in the last couple of years against Philadelphia with Nick Nurse around. There was an affinity on the down low for the Sixers, all kinds of ways that we didn't really realize. I think it's so funny the interaction with Joel and Nick and how he described it yesterday. He said, and he said the same thing when it happened last year in the playoffs. He said, I didn't realize Joel was talking to me so much in the game because I'm so in the game and focused. I don't hear the crowd. I don't hear anybody. I'm just working on coaching and talking to the players and dealing with the refs and doing all that kind of stuff. He didn't even realize that Joel had told him to stop bitching about the refs right to his face. And then he said in the press conference yesterday, I went back and watched it, and then I saw how much it was more than I thought it was. That's kind of funny to me. And yeah, see, maybe you are a little oblivious to certain things, Nick, that are going on around you that you should maybe be aware of. Maybe your tunnel vision isn't always serving you in some ways. I don't know. Maybe that focus is good, I guess. I don't know. Fiercely saying the reporter blatantly said, you didn't answer my question. So awkward. I love that. I love that. Yeah, nail him. Nail him. Mike Ganter or Michael Grange had done that to Nick Nurse. I've been all about it. Like in some ways, I would have respected those guys more if they were a little bit more like that, unless they were trying to like pull us apart. That's the whole thing. But in some ways, yeah, that was pretty cool, honestly. Nako saying Masai mentioned he didn't see the development he wanted. Yeah, we all didn't see the development we wanted. I mean, forget about Masai. I didn't see any development from certain guys I wanted, like Delano Banton, Christian Coloco, Jeffrey Doughton Jr. I can go down the list. Yeah, there were guys that should have made more kind of jumps or gotten more time in certain ways, and he ignored them. He really, really overplayed our starters and had like 7-man rotation that he just played almost 100% of the time. And the rest of the guys were an afterthought and just kind of scrambling for scraps. Really, Nakos. Yeah, you said that. Random's here. Good to see Random Gamer, one of our favorite Philadelphia fans here. This is a great day for him to be here, so we can talk to him about the press conference yesterday and what he thought about the press conference as a Sixers fan. All I need Nurse to do is keep these players accountable. We had Brett Brown, who never held Ben accountable. Then we had Doc, who never held Joel accountable. Maybe Nurse can get these guys to buy in. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize. Yeah, I guess Ben Simmons was never going to be held accountable by anybody. So that's not even a knock on Brett Brown. I actually really thought Brett Brown was a great coach for you guys. I was surprised when y'all let him go, but I understand. And Doc is honestly, he's just Doc. We know what Doc is and everything that comes with him for sure. Now, I don't know if Doc or Nick will have this, they might have the same success with Joel. This is the problem. The problem may not be the coach. The coach may not be able to get through to Joel. It may very well be a problem with Joel. Because listen, Nick is not the best at working with personalities in some ways. He gets petty and he will like have an axe to grind against people. He'll try and punish them within the team, whether he gives them minutes or gives them shots or any kind of ways. Now, Joel's weird because he's such a franchise big player and so important that everything rotates around him. He's just like the center of the universe for Sixers world. And he has to be cool with him or he could lose his job. Although some ways, some of the Sixers fans are saying this, that they value Nick more than they value Joel or Daryl Morey. And that they're saying if things go wrong with Nick Nurse, they'd much rather fire Daryl Morey or trade Joel Embiid instead of getting rid of Nick Nurse. So in some ways, they want to anchor to Nick Nurse before their franchise MVP player right now. There's a lot of Sixers fans that are fed up with Embiid and his bullshit. And if he cuts it into this point with Nick, and it doesn't seem like he's able to hold him accountable, just like Doc couldn't, then everybody's going to say Joel's the problem. And the New York Knicks are monitoring this scenario. Apparently, I'm seeing online. There's an article. The New York Knicks are monitoring Joel Embiid's situation in Philadelphia. They've looked at the situation in Philly, and there's been a hope in New York that stuff in Philly will go haywire to the point where Embiid will ask out. And I could see this happening. Seriously. So, random gamer, who do you value the most? Your GM, your coach, or your franchise player? And who would you be willing to side with when things go wrong? Because the Knicks fans are already predicting it. We're already predicting it. Boston fans are laughing about it too. They can see the whole thing that might be happening for you guys. In fact, Knicks fans think they're about to take over the Atlantic Division because everybody's in such disarray between y'all, us, the Nets, and the Celtics with their issues with their problems too. So the next Knicks are ready to rise up and be kings of the Atlantic from what they're seeing that's going on around their division. So, listen, that's going to be the thing you're going to have to watch, Random Gamer. Will Nick be able to hold Joel accountable? Can anyone hold Joel accountable? That's the problem. It's like that kind of situation. What do you do when your franchise player is like that and he's that leader? It's really kind of fucks you over because you're limited by how much your leader leads. And if he's that kind of leader, well, you're going to continue not to get past the second round. And it's not going to be the coach and it won't be anybody else. It will be specifically Joel. All right, let's keep going. I don't know what's going to happen exactly. If he can get Joel to buy in, even just for a little while, that could work. Nick talked glowingly about Joel. He's talking about we threw everything at him to try and stop him, and we still had a hard time doing it, but we really very much respected him and stuff. And he had very interesting things to say about Maxey also. In fact, Maxey's somebody he's very much going to key on trying to develop and get better. And he probably will succeed with Maxey, but I don't know how much success he's going to find with Joel. Let's see. Monique is saying, everyone wear white today. Way to go, Masai, doing the right thing. Stop gun violence. Yes, Monique, this is a cause that I feel very strongly about myself. I know, listen, you guys, if you're very strongly for gun rights, well, in some ways, gun rights are not being hurt by this. If you do things responsibly with guns, then you shouldn't be having a problem with Justin having legislation to try and help make our cities and streets safer. So it's a very complicated situation, but we need to do things. We can't just sit back and let society devolve into the Wild West where people are shooting people over innocuous things just because they feel kind of slighted. There's like people shooting each other in traffic down south. There's people shooting people because of hot pockets. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous at this point how quickly people will resort to violence when they're upset and very stupid little things that are happening. Mike saying, I popped the Morey nurse theory days ago and was on point with the Vipers Houston connection. Yeah, I don't know. I have questions, but I won't assume there was a structured plan behind the scenes. There was, Mike. There was. Morey was angling for this. And the reason why I know there was is because this happened before with me one other time in my life. I was in grad school at FSU in the mid 2000s, and a classmate of mine who was a huge Miami Heat fan, he knew I was a Raptors fan. He came up to me and said, hey, Lex, how are you going to feel when Chris Bosh is in Miami with LeBron and Dwayne Wade? And this is before the decision. This is like a year or two before. It was right after the Olympics, and they had all played together, and they made the pact to come play together in Miami, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. And well, this guy, Jason, that was in my class, I was like, fuck you, man. Chris Bosh ain't leaving Toronto to do that. Well, he did. He did like 2 years later and went down there, and this guy was right. So he had heard already a buzz down the line that there was a rumor about it and that Riley was going for that move. And guess what? I thought it was impossible. Like, how the hell are you going to get LeBron James in Miami? Well, they made it work. Riley made it work, and he even got Bosh too. Just like he told me. It went exactly the way that my classmate Jason said. Well, like I'm saying, I can remember there was a rumor saying that Nick Nurse was going to be on the Sixers like a year or so ago. And it really strikes me like that this was all premeditated and like thought out and planned and executed by certain people. And I'm blaming Clutch. I'm blaming Daryl Morey. And on the down low, maybe even Nick Nurse. So, oh, man, you were right, Mike. The connection between Morey was a huge part of why this happened. Really, really huge part. Nameless is saying what we said yesterday about Jordy being Sergio's younger understudy. Well, that's exactly what the Leafs did a few years ago with their GM situation. Yeah. Dubas. I think it's really fishy that Dubas just got hired by the Penguins. Why did we fire Kyle Dubas? Leafs? Why did you do that? I don't like this new guy, Treveling or whatever. He doesn't come very I had more confidence in the guy that just left. And why is he hired all of a sudden right away by the Pittsburgh Penguins? when he was doing a good job here in Toronto. I don't know enough about hockey and the Leafs to really understand. Like some of the casuals won't understand the Nick Nurse situation. But it's really weird to me. It looks bad. It looks like the best guy went to Pittsburgh and we got like an after second kind of guy in the job now. Like that's not an upgrade. And I feel like there's something messed up about that. Professionals here saying loser vibes. We're going to sweep you up this year. Now I'm sensing a little jealousy, Rabbit Freak. Listen, man, your VP sat down and that dude's such a loser. Like I listened to him, the way he talks, he's might as well be half asleep. Like seriously, and Maury, he is like Chris Farley's character, the man that lives in the van down by the river. So yeah, you can say that. You could come and try and sweep us, but I don't know. We'll see. I have to see who we get as a coach and see who we get as players also. So whatever, professional. I'm not even going to count that as a strike because I did shots fired on your people. They are losers. You can look at them the way they sit up there. Daryl Morey looks like a loser. Seriously, that dude is a loser. Loser franchise all around, bro. All around loser franchise between your press, your fans, and your GM and all that. Losers. You guys are loser vibes. That's why y'all do what you do. That's why the Sixers are the Sixers. You have that DNA. You've had it for a long time. And I can tell because I saw your leadership sitting on the sides of Nick Nurse. Like I'm like, these guys are fucking losers. Oh my gosh. No wonder. No wonder that teams run the way they are. Oh my gosh. MSJ saying Philly fans are heartless with this, and the expectation is 100% that Nick brings home the chip. Maybe it happens, but I hardly think so. And Nick will have to suffer it. Might end his time in the NBA. No, I'll bet you this. I'll bet you he'll do another spiteful move. I'll bet you this is all right. Maybe I'll make this prediction. All right. And let's see how true I come. Like, I'm going to make a prediction right now for like the next 3 years. He's going to have relatively good success at the beginning. But at some point, it's going to go off the rails, maybe because of injury, maybe because him and Joel don't see eye to eye, maybe because the team isn't that good this year, because James leaves and the roster is just not going to be a very good team. And they have a hard time winning. And what'll happen is, like you said, the fans will turn on Nick. They'll be very like abusive. The press will be very hard on him. And maybe he won't feel so good about that job anymore. And then he'll just do like what he did to us this year. He'll submarine himself there or maybe even get himself fired. And meanwhile, Clutch is in the back room already putting the wheels in motion for him to go get hired by like the Lakers or something like that. He will land on his feet again, even after this job, because in some ways he's got a prestige in a way that he can ride and blame other people for problems and still get jobs afterwards. So Philly fan, just as much as he sold us out to come coach for y'all, just wait. At the end of his tenure with y'all, he'll sell y'all out and he'll go take a payday with another team, maybe the Lakers. It could be any of the big prestigious teams other than you guys. It could be the Lakers. It could be the Knicks. It could be all kinds of different teams. It could be the Celtics. But yeah, I'm going to predict that when he leaves y'all, he's going to leave y'all high and dry just like he left us. And y'all will feel just like how we do right now. So that's how it's going to go. Seriously, I'm going to see that. Chris comes saying, laughing my ass off at loser vibes. I fully agree. Keep the Nurse roast going. Karma will catch up to good old Nikki. I mean, it's just that vibe, bro. And in fact, he didn't look like he belonged between those two guys yesterday. Like seriously, I could feel the vibes getting on him, and he was kind of getting scared. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is how it's gonna be. These horrible press, these two losers next to me," and I'm kind of like, "Oh, I have pictures from the press conference yesterday, and it looks like he's in stress from like losing in a playoff instead of getting an introductory warm meeting." There's pictures of him going like this. And like, oh, and like, ooh. Even that picture that I used for this stream, you could look at it. He looks like kind of like, there's really weird energy around Nick Nurse right now. He's not authentically being himself. And that's part of the problem. Clutch wants him to be inauthentic, and he's not good at it. He's not good at it. He really is the kind of guy that shows his face. He has no poker face. He has no poker face. It's really interesting. David's saying Nick's interview was pathetic. I don't think he managed to actually answer any of the questions. Fuck Nick Nurse. That's what David Saborn's saying. I'm with him, doubling down. David Saborn's going to be a leader in the Rapid Freak Nation of bitterness, and I'm all about it. Sure, we are salty, the professional. Of course we're salty. We just like, this is such bullshit. Like, seriously, go take another job. Why are you taking the Sixers job? The Sixers job, that is shots fired, enemy lines crossed, and you are dead to us to a degree, at least until you retire, Nick. at least until you retire. And David's saying the professional, y'all never win anything so long you have that fake ass MVP on your team. Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything David's saying here. I mean, seriously, you really think you're gonna win with Nick? I know y'all really do think that, but I don't think you can with Joel. That's the problem. And a lot of your Sixers fans realize this, but some of them don't realize this. And that's part of the problem is Joel is the problem. You guys are not going to win with him. And even Nick talked about in the press conference, he's saying, oh, the game was going away from big men, but it seems like it's going to big men now. Look at Nikola. And I seem to think that maybe we can make the big man be more prominent in today's NBA once again, and that he's going to try and do that. I will be curious to see what kind of things he does and sets up with Philadelphia and where he finds success and failure. That's what he does. He said it. He's like, I like to experiment. I like to try things out. And when I find something I like, I put it in my toolbox and I save it for later. Yeah. Some of that good stuff he finds out and puts in toolbox, he never brings back to see the light of day. It's crazy. We'll see something like in the middle of November and be like, wow, that really works really well. Please do that more. And then we won't see it ever again. It's like, so yeah, get used to that kind of weird shit where he may show something that he does with the players on the court and you'll be like, wow, that really works. And then you won't see it ever fucking again. He puts it in the toolbox and the toolbox is locked. He doesn't take that tool back out. Oh man, this is going to be fun, guys. This is going to be fun. In some ways maybe he is an inside job for us. Like he is going in there to mess them up from the inside and he still has this in his heart. Right there, yeah. Fiercely saying, I have a theory that he would have liked to coach the Bucks, but since Giannis blocked that option, that's another reason why he joined the Sixers, to stick it to us in the Bucks. Yeah, yeah. Forget about even if it's to stick it to us. In some ways, he's just set up really, really well to compete against like us, and being in this situation. Whatever, do you think Giannis told them? He's like, I don't want Nick Nurse. I don't like him. He's not a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm a fun guy. I don't want to be around this dude because he's mean. It may be like that. I think some people are trying to say, oh, he stepped aside so Adrian could get the job. And like I said, maybe that is some way he could ensure that the Raptors wouldn't have Adrian for sure if Milwaukee hired him. So there's a lot to it. Randolph saying Nurse's answer about if he wants James on the team was telling. Yeah, he doesn't. The report put him on the spot. That was a quick Philly awakening for him. Yeah, he found out it's a whole different thing. First day on the job. You're in Philly, bro. This is different. It's totally, totally different. Yeah, and they didn't like his answer. He kind of danced around and they went directly at him. You go, Erskine, or whatever your name is. Good stuff. I love that. That's entertainment to us. Seriously. David's saying, yeah, Nick won't be able to handle the crowd in Philly. A little salty. It'll be weird. It'll be very strange. Like Doc has a thick skin. Doc has been through so much in his career with the fans and them not really respecting him or liking him, but he still just moves on. Nick's a little sensitive. He's a little bit more sensitive, Philly fan, just so you know. So you may want to tell your whole crew to kind of chill out and not come after him because he could be very sensitive about things you say about him. And you might find that very quickly. Monique saying, love that Masai praised Adrian Griffin as he should with Lindsey Dunn. I haven't seen that interview with Lindsey Dunn. I know he sat down with Lindsey Dunn earlier this week, but I want to see that interview in full. I have not seen that yet, but I'm glad to hear that a lot of people are praising Adrian. That's very telling. Very, very telling. A lot of people are praising Adrian. Let's see. Logical saying, Masai being a true humanitarian leader feels blessed to have him. That's right. Seriously, forget about what we've lost. Forget about Nick. And he was a real asset that we had. In some ways, he is an asset for the Sixers at this point. But we should be grateful for what we still have. And that is Masai Ujiri still on our team. And stop coming after him, people. Seriously, don't look at this Nick Nurse firing as the fault of Masai. Y'all got to understand he had to do it. He did not intend to fire Nick Nurse this season, but Nick Nurse forced him to. And that's just how it is. And if y'all want to blame Masai and think that it's a mistake that he made, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. That Nick Nurse sabotaged our team and he had to go. There's no way he could have stayed. If we had kept Nick Nurse next season, you guys would have seen more of what happened this season. And we don't need that. That's very toxic and damaging to our franchise. And we needed to move on from him. So I hope that Raptors fans in general can understand that that this is not something that could have been avoided. And Masai's hands were tied. He had to do this. He had to do this. He did not want to, but he had to because Nick made this situation happen. He did. He made it happen. If he didn't, it was Daryl Morey and Clutch. Somebody made this shit happen. It was very much a plan, and they executed it. All right, let's keep going. MSJ saying at the professional, but do you really think the Sixers are going to win the championship next season? I put the odds at 10%. Embiid is not mentally strong enough to do it. Jokic will take the MVP back too. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be MVP next season, but Jokic will have a whole head of steam after this season that he may get it again and then be a 3-time MVP. I mean, the dude deserves the awards. He is just on another level, and he's just doing it right. That's the other thing that's so cool about it is so many players at a high level in the NBA just don't do things exactly right, like James Harden or Joel Embiid. But he does things right. He's a team player. He's a great person, and he's like funny, and there's all kinds of things that are likable about Nikola Jokic. I've never actually hated Nikola. I've always never really interacted with or watched him too much because he's in the West and we see him twice a year and he's annoying to play against because he's tough. But in some ways, I've never had any animosity towards him. So in some ways, it's easier for me to like him and be like behind him than obviously Joel. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse Canada is still tied to Canada. His Sixers presser, he kept saying we, meaning the Raptors. I giggled. He still has Team Canada. Will visit with his Canadian kids. He said he's sad he got fired. Had Arkell's last jam. Yeah, I think that's all very apt and correct, Cool Cat. I think that's pretty accurate. You know, it's weird he kept calling us we. He's really going to have to get trained with that, and he'll get more time with the Sixers, and then he'll start saying we with them, and we will be the us. The them will be the them at that point. So yeah, it is what it is. I know that they need to get a band for him so he can go jam in Philly. That's what I'm saying. You know, pets need certain needs like water and food. Well, this coach has certain needs. He needs a jam band. So you need to replace the Arkells with some sort of band down there in Philly that he can start jamming with on the piano. See, Nick, I'm still looking out for you. I'm trying to tell the Sixers how to take care of you. So get him a jam band. You know, they said there's even like a post by the Sixers official account of Nick coming to the team, and the caption is signed, sealed, delivered. He's ours. That hurts in some ways to a Raptors fan. He's ours. That's what I'm saying. Daryl Morey had this plan a long time before this all happened. MSJ saying maybe the Chinese police stations in Canada have some good ideas on how to stop gun violence. Trudeau likely will ask them, Lex, gun violence is tied to the drug trade and guns come in via the reserves. Yeah, I won't disagree with some of that. You know, it really is a problem with the states. The prevalence of the guns and the gun manufacturing in the states is really bad. And it comes and bleeds over into our country from the border. And there's all kinds of illicit ways that guns come into Canada. Well, that's what Trudeau's trying to stop. He's trying to stop the supply of guns coming into Canada illegally from the United States. It's a huge problem. And in fact, we can blame the states for most of the guns being here in Canada. Seriously, the guns that are not supposed to be in Canada come from the United States, and their gun problem floods over into our country in those kind of ways. So why wouldn't our prime minister want to protect us from American guns coming across our border? And I thank him for that kind of stuff. You know, listen, you were saying the Chinese police stations in Canada. I don't know what that means. We don't have different stations, right? Nameless is saying, what a tremendous coaching staff that would be. The Italian Sergio and Jordi as his associate. What? If we are lucky to get that, that'd be awesome. But I don't know if that's realistic. In fact, maybe the guy that's going to take over, we don't need more than one captain of the ship, that we need just one person be in charge. So there's no power struggle. There's no like muddledness. I think we just need one coach. I know that yesterday we were talking about a 3-headed coaching hydra, but in some ways that doesn't make any sense at all. In some ways, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we'll have our coach very soon and all of the questions will be answered and we'll see who it is. Yeah, it's awesome. Let's see. Wayne saying, greetings from the Caribbean. Good talk, Lex. I like guns, but safety first. And like alcohol and drugs, it's not for everyone. Psychological issues are germane for access. I think that's completely agree with that also. Guns are important to a degree for protection. You live out in the country, you have bears and different things around that can be very dangerous in certain situations. I can totally understand why you would need a gun. We talked to Raymond Jacob about his homesteading and what he wants to do. And I understand he's also worried about things like, the New World Order and the militarization of the police and coming to his house. So he wants to be able to protect himself. And that is all very important. I get it. The Second Amendment in the United States, some of it is very valid, like protect yourself against the powers that be. I totally get that, but all within reason. And it is very much true. Like there should be like kind of like people that are psychologically not right should not have guns. And how do you do that? How do you test that? How do you figure that out? In some ways, there's new technology coming out with smart technology as far as your car, your house, your watch. It can monitor things like this. And that may be the answer. That smart tech may be able to tell people or tell the police this guy may be going into a different erratic behavior pattern and they may not need to have their gun anymore. So that may be the key, honestly. The smart tech may be able to help us in this arena. Now, people will say, is this like overstepping? And this is really weird. Well, get this. The smart tech is already recording all kinds of things about our behavior and monitoring us in different weird ways. In fact, there's a study that came out recently that a smart tech can tell you when you're going to be depressed because it can tell from what you're doing in your life and it can predict about a depression for people. So if it can do that, it can definitely maybe be able to predict when somebody may go off the rails and get crazy with a gun all of a sudden, even if they were a sane, law abiding gun citizen that was fine with it. That could be part of the puzzle pieces that help to combat these issues with mental health. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I like, once again, I'm not one of these kind of people that want to come and take your guns. If you already have a gun right now, and you're a responsible gun owner and you are fine with everything, that's not who I'm talking about. I don't want to come take your guns. I want you to have your guns. I'm talking about the illegal guns. I'm talking about the prevalence of too many guns in Canada. I think that there should be responsible gun ownership. And if Wayne Strainer is a responsible gun owner, I fully support him and his rights to have his guns. So I want to make sure that y'all don't think I'm anti-gun. I'm for good gun control is what I'm for. Cowboy's saying, good morning, Lex and Rapid Freaks. Bam, good to see Bradley. And Mike is saying, Nurse versus the Philly fans and media is going to be funny. There you go, Mike. There you go. I want to see some great clips from you next year, maybe with some of this stuff. I bet you there could be some really good material from this. Seriously, there's going to be some classics. Seriously, there's going to be some weird shit happening. There's going to be some funny shit. Seriously, that Erskine guy and Nurse, that may be very interesting. Little, yeah. Professional saying David Saborin, Embiid might need to be the second best player on a title team. I'd say Siakam is the fourth option on a title team. MSJ, Jokic has Murray averaging 28, 5, 6, and 2 every night also. Need Maxey to be Murray. Okay, I'm going to parse this out and break it down. Well, first of all, professional. David Saborin absolutely hates Embiid, and I do too. So I fully endorse him to just pile on Embiid, insult him every which way, because in some ways he's the most hated player in the NBA for Raptors Nation. And that's just how it is. I'm sorry. You think that he's the second option on a title team. Well, that's interesting. You're kind of insulting your franchise player and MVP right there. But the thing about Siakam, I'll give you a strike for that. Anytime you sully Siakam here and you give him an insult like that, he's the fourth option on a title team. Well, that's not true. Because we've already seen the evidence that he's the second option on a title team that already won, a team that put your ass out with a bounce, 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 bounce shot. Yeah. So you're already wrong. That's factually not right because Siakam was the second option on a title team. And that is actually fact. And that is actually something that happened. So there you go. Nameless is saying Sergio will be getting all fascist with his players. It will be amazing. What? Just because he's Italian, you got to make a Mussolini comparison or something like that? No, I don't want any fascists on this team. Nick Nurse can be a fascist in Philadelphia. That's fine. But no, we want a kind of benevolent, more Dr. Malfi kind of person now. We've got Jordy, sports psychologist, coming in. That's a kind of more benevolent coach, but he can be hard edge when it's necessary to get the right results. That's the thing. We want a hard and soft coach, somebody who can be very, very mean and tough on people, but also very tender and nice, and has the wherewithal of reading the situation with the individual to know which approach is appropriate at that particular time. And that's something that Nick never had, is he doesn't read people very well. he'll just go off his emotions and go off on somebody like Gary Trent behind the scenes. And, Jordy's more likely to sit down and talk to him eye to eye and get more out of him because he'll have the right approach because he knows how to approach it better psychology wise. So, that's what I'm talking about. I don't want no fascists. I don't want no fascists anywhere in life, whether it's in leadership, on my basketball team, or in my country. Yeah, there you go. That's discipline. Masai knows that. Yeah. Cowboys saying, everyone have a great day. Got to go. Let's go. Raptors can't wait for the season later. All right. You go, Bradley. TGIF to you, sir. Monique is saying, we don't want Peyton Pritchard. It's a nope. I think this is hilarious. There's a little bit of a sinking ship, rats running off a sinking ship kind of feeling in Boston right now. Whether it's the Ime Udoka news that he's taking 3 of their assistants to Houston. Well, who the fuck is going to be coaching in Boston next to Coach Joe? I really wouldn't have a lot of confidence if I was a Celtics fan in your coaching staff next year with the rehires and who's coming in to be underneath Coach Joe. And Brad Stevens gave his seal of approval. He's going to be y'all's coach next year. But where's the brain drain on y'all's coaches going to happen with that? And now you're hearing your backup point guard, Peyton Pritchard, is demanding a trade out of Boston. This is not something that happens to Boston very often where a player on their team is saying, I want out. So this is very, very interesting. I'm a hard pass on Peyton Pritchard in Toronto also. He's undersized. He may be a good shot, and he may be a very feisty little guard, but he is pretty much where he is already in the NBA. He's not going to go much further. So I'm a hard pass on him to come to Toronto and be in our jersey. But, we'll see where he lands. He wants out. He does not want to be in Boston. And that's very telling about the changes that are happening this offseason there. Let's see. MSJ saying at the professional, well, you have a better chance than us Raptors fans do, but I can't wish you luck. Laugh out loud. Philly and Boston are the 2 teams I dislike the most as a fan. Embiid, the star, I feel is going nowhere. MSJ's got the same 2 teams that I dislike the most also. And that's just part of it. We're fans of division rivals. This is a very much a grudge rivalry match, Philadelphia and Toronto. It's just how it is. And in some ways, he's being realistic. He's saying, you guys seem like you have a better chance. Well, they do right now. Let's just say that, MSJ. Presently, as of today, at just before 11 a.m. on June the 2nd of 2023, the Philadelphia 76ers may be in better shape than the Raptors right now as a franchise. Well, we don't have a coach, and we have not done our offseason yet. Let's see where we're at in September, MSJ, before we give them the kudos of being the better team or the better chance than us. Because in some ways, a lot can change this summer, and it could be very bad for the Sixers in some ways. Some of the changes and moves they do. And James leaving will really, really hurt that team, and he will leave. Trust me. He's going to leave. All the writing's on the wall. They fully expect him to leave from what they said yesterday, Morey and Nurse. He's saying, I like for him to stay. Well, he's not going to stay, trust me. And that's going to change Philadelphia's makeup very, very strongly. In fact, the bump and the hope that the Sixers nation has had is because of James Harden. And once he leaves, they're going to see that it was a big part of it. And then, our moves are going to be big. We're going to make big moves before the end of the summer. So MSJ, pause on this. We'll give them that right now. But we don't know how we'll look in September. And we may be very equal with them as far as going in the season. Experts in the NBA will not put us up there, but we'll be underlyingly good, and they'll underrate us, and we may be just as good as Philadelphia this season coming up. Trust me. Seriously, it could be like that. It works that way sometimes. Play it again. Sue's here. Check out Sue's channel. Sue's channel is awesome. She reacts to music all the time. A lot of golden oldies with her friends in Chelsea and many others. Check out Play It Again, Sue. It's a YouTube reaction channel here on YouTube. So look it up and give her a subscription. Good morning, everyone. The Philly press was really hard on him. He didn't know how to answer some of those questions. They wanted specifics about growth and development, and he couldn't answer. Yeah, there's some stuff that, like, you could tell he's just kind of bullshitting. I get it. He's got some interesting plans for how he can use Joel offensively. That's pretty cool. And, he said that Joel has some great defensive attributes also that he's interested in exploring more. He's going to have to do a totally different system than he did here. Any Philadelphia fan that thinks that they're going to get the terrorizing defense that we have here in Toronto, you're wrong. You don't have the personnel to do it. And in fact, if you guys try to do it with Nick, that may end his tenure with you quicker than you think, because he's going to be demanding on that, and that will cause rifts. So in some ways, you don't want him to go in that route. You may want him to focus more on your offense than really trying to do the defensive stuff that he did here in Toronto. because that could be the place where it rips everything apart. Joel cannot do the things he wants for him to do on defense, and that could be where the rift starts. So be very wary of what you wish for. You may want to be more concentrating on the offensive side and what he can do to enhance your offense than worrying about how much he's going to improve your defense. Because if you get him focused on the defensive side too much, that's where the problems will start. Watch. Let's see. Fiercely saying it all makes sense now. When OG and the one repping with him at that charity event earlier this year, of all the players, I found it slightly odd, but I guess it was a Clutch family affair. Yeah, I'm really worried about Clutch, and I'm just in some ways it's like, you know what, Fred, whatever you're gonna do, just go ahead and do it. And we can weather the young Coloco and maybe OG still being involved in Clutch and around here. But otherwise, like I have no trust in Clutch people. And it sounds like Philly people don't really trust Clutch either. That, they're not real thrilled with Nick being Clutch in some ways also. And I'm telling you, that's a good thing to not be thrilled about, because if he's not happy with the situation in Philadelphia, he will figure out a way to get himself out of there, just like he did here this year. Let's keep going. Professional saying also, why would the NBA want to purposely compromise Toronto? Did you know Raptors are the ninth most expensive team and the 13th most talked about on social media? Sixers are 11th and 14th on that list. Okay, I appreciate this comment, the professional. And see, I'll show that I can turn the other cheek and also be cool with you. This is an interesting question, and people from down there may not understand it. I mean, in some ways, because we're a Canadian team, we get covered by the US totally differently. We have NBA Canada, and in some ways, they ignore us in the States, and this is part of it. And, they don't like that we've been a good team in the last 10 years. I know that Philadelphia, you guys have not liked that we've been a power and that we've been annoying and winning Eastern Conference championships and Atlantic Division championships with Masai being here. They want to bust us up. They want us to be like the Hornets. They want us to be one of the bottom feeder teams in the league. And they don't like how well Masai Ujiri has done at his job. So they really do kind of orchestrate trying to mess us up. That when we had the stoppage because of the pandemic, the Raptors had the best record in the NBA. We were rolling, and the COVID pandemic really messed up our team in a couple of ways. Pascal did not work out during the pandemic, and he was in horrible shape for the bubble, and it messed up our series against the Celtics, losing to them in Game 7. That we were rolling in that time in 2020 in March when things all went south. And in some ways, they're happy that we've had trouble, like having to go to Tampa, they're happy that we've had issues with our team in different ways. And in some ways, the NBA, look at that picture behind me right there. That has all our champions from our champion year. There's now only two guys that played or coached that are on there that are still part of our team. And they're going to try and take one of those still by the end of this summer. And that's part of it. They wanted to dismantle our team. They saw that we could have been a dynasty if Kawhi had stayed. And they've tried to effectively influence the NBA's tried to effectively influence the Raptors to be a worse and worse team in the last few years. People can blame Masai and think it's Masai not doing a good job, but he's working against a force that does not want us to be a top team. They were very happy to see us at the bottom of the Atlantic Division this year, and they're hoping that we'll stay down there for years to come. So they're just trying to beat us down. And we've overdone what we were supposed to do and overachieved and done better in recent years. Like the year before when we played y'all in the first round, we did really well that year, considering what they wanted us to be. So they're really trying to stomp us out like a cigarette. There's still a little bit of like lit on there, and they just really want to put it out. Whether it's they're trying to lure Masai away because they know he's part of the driving force that makes us successful, whether it's trying to lure Nick Nurse away like they did just now, whether it's trying to get Fred out of here, Lowry, Kawhi, Serge, Mark, all these guys are gone. And you think about how many of your guys, when you played us with the four bounce, are still on your team right now at this point. I mean, what is it? Joel, Tobias, Tyrese. You've got a lot of your core guys still. We don't. And that was actively picked apart by people like Steve Ballmer, y'all, and the NBA. So it is what it is. We know that that's a disadvantage we have to work against, that the NBA does not want the Canadian team to do well. You can look at the NHL. They don't want the Canadian teams to do well. When's the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup? There's all kinds of weird fishiness in trying to stop Canada teams from winning, because part of it is these sports franchises are in US, they get money generated in the US. A GDP goes up, economy goes up in those places. When we won the championship here in Toronto, The GDP of Canada went up. Toronto had an economic boom. So, just from a financial perspective, the United States government and maybe the U.S. doesn't want to give financial boons to Canada too often, because when championships happen, that's what happens. So, some of it is the money at the very, very top. And that if those boons or an economic activity is going to stimulate the economy, they'd like it to be within the U.S. borders. So, does that answer your question a little bit about why there may be motives to try and stymie the Raptors from winning? Yeah, that'll answer it a lot right there. Now, I like what you're saying about the stats professional. We are one of the most highly valued teams in the NBA, and we are one of the most supported, and we are very active on social media, and we're proud of that. But that's just how it is in some ways. We're at a disadvantage, trust me, but we overcome it. That's why we're badasses. Monique saying other social media watch updates. Pascal posting his workout pictures. That's right. All right, we'll do the Instagram check real quick because Monique has brought it up. We got Ron Harper Jr. putting his brother Dylan on blast. They're actually calling Dylan Harper Baby Harden right now. Baby Harden. And Ron thinks it's hilarious. He says, yeah, little fella. And also, I don't know if this has to do with Nick Nurse, but yesterday, right around the time when Nick did his press conference, Ron Harper Jr. posted Juice World's Glowed Up, Goodbye and Good Riddance 5-year anniversary album. I wonder if that means anything to do with Nick Nurse. Goodbye and Good Riddance. And very interesting. Could be a very hidden message. Ron Harper Jr. also celebrating his dad. Ron Harper Sr. got into a Hall of Fame. I'm not sure what Hall of Fame it is, but he's getting an accolade. And I love seeing Ron celebrating his dad, Ron Harper Sr., such a storied great vet in the history of the NBA. Delano is at some place in Canada with guys like Teddy Buckets and Sniper CV. They're on a court and he's watching them play. I don't know if this is a CBL game. It looks like it might be. What's this? It looks like a CBL team. It's the Sea Bears. What, the Sea Bears? I don't know. It looks like CB. Oh yeah, Honey Badgers. Yeah, he's at a CBL team game last night. Steve Nash is out there on the soccer field watching soccer. He's yelling Forza. I don't know what Steve's doing exactly. Thad Young, of course, putting on blast his Reform Transportation Company with some people getting off the bus. That's interesting. Nav is starting his super fan camp in Victoria. Tom Duke, get ready. Nav Bhatia is coming to your area of the country, and he will be there for a training camp. So come out there and see Nav's camp, y'all. That's pretty much it. I think on purpose, most of the Raptors are keeping very quiet around the day that happened yesterday. They don't want to have anything misinterpreted about how they feel about Nick Nurse going to Philadelphia. So I think that most of the guys are just being radio silent because they don't want to have anything read into by our fan nation or anybody else. So that's probably smart, guys. Just stay away from it. Like I just read into what Ron Harper Jr. posted. Hey, that fits. Goodbye and good riddance. And I'm with that. Yeah. Fiercely saying Embiid is a clown and Jokic's performance is demonstrating what a real MVP is. The dude's amazing. Like he so casually gets triple doubles and they just come so easy to him. And it's not like when he does it, it disrupts the flow of all the rest of the Nuggets. He really is a team player. And I love him talking about Tim Duncan recently and how much he has an influence on the way he plays. It shows, Nicola. You are the way a basketball player should play the game. You really, really are. You're a good role model for how a basketball player should play. And Embiid is the opposite, flopping and complaining and whining and acting like an immature little baby. Yeah, role models. You got one role model here, you got another role model here. And I'm telling you, there's a very stark contrast between the two of them. David's saying, yeah, exactly, Fiercey. It's a mockery that they gave that to Joel this year. They must be really, really embarrassed about how pathetic Joel was in the playoffs. Hey, Philly fans, you guys see how David is shooting shots fired directly on Philly fans. And oh man, you see how useless he is now. There's David going off on there. There's nothing I can disagree with him on this. The way they went out, the timing of the MVP, the fishiness of it all, and now how strong Jokic has looked, it just doesn't look right at all. Wayne's saying, right on, Lex, go Nuggets. Nick Nurse had plans from 2 seasons back with our playoffs against Philly. I thought he was helping Doc not get fired that season, but his coaching decisions were bizarre at that time. There's been a weird, I don't know, there's something that's not totally right about his connection with Philly and while he was still working for us. There's something very, very insidious and kind of like wrong. And I don't know. We can speculate. Maybe there'll be more pieces of the puzzle that other people around our nation find out or figure out. Looking at different things. I still think that Keith Pompey is a huge factor in all this stuff that happened, along with Daryl Morey and Rich Paul and Clutch. That these are all the people that were kind of factors and parts of the whole thing and how it went down and orchestrated. Keith Pompey started this all with that press conference in Philly, and he was also a part of the stuff in the aftermath since. So I'm really feeling like he's the journalist that was involved in this whole part of like the scheme to do what they did. That he lobbed that little question. They didn't even do it right. Nick didn't even follow the script. Keith asked him a question and he didn't answer it. He kind of just went off on a tangent that didn't really answer the question that Keith asked. And that's why I feel like he lobbed up the assist to Nick to be able to make the dumb statement that unraveled everything with him here in Toronto. So that is really interesting stuff. In some ways, it sucks. It's sad, but so be it. We move on. We stay present. Raptors Nation will be strong no matter what, and we're going to kick their ass. I seriously want to kick their ass now. Professional sin. The MVP is a regular season award. Dirk won the MVP in 2007 as the number 1 seed, and they lost first round the 8 seed Warriors. That doesn't mean he wasn't MVP. This is a really, you know what? I'm going to give Professional this one. Seriously, he's exactly right. It is a regular season award, and he did deserve it. It just looks bad in hindsight. It just as it did for Dirk at that time too. So you know what? That's fair. And Professional, you're actually, you're coming around. I think you're kind of getting our style and what we do here and stuff like that. Sure, we're going to be mean to the Sixers, but if you want to coexist here, we can talk on an adult level. And I will give you, like, if you're right, I will say you're right, and you're exactly right here. So it is a regular season award. And Joel, in some ways, I said that at the end of the season. Joel deserves to win the MVP at that time. I did say that at that time, but it was very quickly that I was like, this dude, whatever. But yeah, I did. I was like, in some ways, it doesn't make sense to make Jokic a 3-time MVP in a row, because that really launches him into a stratosphere in the whole scheme of greatest of all time. That in some ways he doesn't look totally right in those places, because he would be ranked higher than some people that he maybe shouldn't be, but he should be probably ranked higher than them after he wins a championship this year. So it's a weird thing, but Professional. All right, I'll give you that one, and respect. Seriously, that you're right. You're exactly right. MK saying a lot of games today in the WNBA. Don't forget to set your lineups for today. That's right. MK giving the friendly reminder to you guys for your fantasy WNBA games today. Get your lineup set. Everybody, Gerald, I'm kicking your ass, Gerald. You better get in there and get your players in the lineup, because I'm just wiping the floor with you. I am no mercy. I want to keep my Nick Nurse sullied, disgraced whistle from the coach's open house. I want to keep it. I don't want to give it to y'all. So I am competing to win. And so you better beat me to get my whistle. You want that coach's whistle? Well, you got to beat me in WNBA fantasy, and you got to set your lineup. That's right. Played again, Sue saying Nick Nurse will hate that job. He will have little control over the team. Joel will be the center of the universe. The press and fans will eat him alive. He will regret taking that job, and it looks good on him. Listen, a lot of things people say, and he had all those books on his desk. He should have known this. Never make moves in anger. Never make moves in hate because you make a mistake. And I think he did. Seriously, you would have been way better off out in the desert with Kevin and Devin. Seriously, you would have been. You would have been happier. It would have been nicer. The press would have been nicer. The fans would have been nicer. You may have had more success and more wins in Phoenix. But no, you had to go take the Philly job. And in some ways, I really do think it is, despite the Raptors fan nation and the Raptors organization. And, you're going to find out that was a miscalculation. And I think what Sue's saying is exactly right. He's going to hate that job not too long into it. He's already in a bad place mentally. It's not like he's going there for serenity now or peacefulness. It's going to be really tough to be the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's going to find that out. In fact, he may compare it to when he was in Toronto. He's like, holy crap, it was never like this in Toronto. And this is so much worse. I'll bet you, seriously, that's going to happen to him. Wayne saying, love Kyle, but no NBA championship for the East. Nuggets, go get it. That's right. We love you, Kyle Lowry. You've already proven some points about your greatness. And just seeing you win and go to the finals once again in your career is fantastic to see. But sorry, stopping you right here. You did a good job eliminating a bunch of teams we didn't like. And we appreciate it. Well, now it's time for y'all to go ahead and get it. Jamal Murray of Kitchener. Yes, Jamal Murray of Kitchener. We're going with our Canadian guy. Jamal Murray is our dude. We love you, Jamal. So happy to see you with your dad before the game. And oh man, do it for Canada, baby. Do it for Canada, baby. Yeah, David's saying, so that's a yes. So you see how useless that loser Embiid is, professional. Yeah. All right, David. And professional's doing okay right now. So let's not personally come after him. We can come after Joel and Nick, but we very much do not want to go after people that are just people here. We go after the other people, the people that are in the game, but that's it. Nameless is with Wayno, Insano Wayno, 1000%. Yeah, I think we all are kind of on Denver's side, even though we have the GROAT on the Miami Heat side. David saying half of Joel's points are earned from fake fouls, yielding free throws. Dude's not good at basketball. That's all there is to it. I won't disagree that the fouls do help his scoring average and that he does get bailed out a lot. He complains that he doesn't get them enough. It's crazy. That dude and James got so many foul shots last year. It's insane how often those guys went to the foul line compared to everybody else in the NBA. And it's true, David, you're right. That does prop them up with their scoring averages. All right, professional saying, oh, sorry, David Saborn. I meant to say Siakam is a third option on a championship team, not a fourth. He is close to a Chris Bosh level player. I'm not going to give you a full strike because you're starting to make me like you, professional, honestly. So I'm not going to give you a full strike on that. That's still a stretch. Like I said earlier, he's already been a second option on a championship team. So he is a second option. And the thing is, he's better than he was when he was with Kawhi. I mean, he has been our first option for a while, and he's been pretty good for the most part. There's a couple of things we'd like to see improve where he could be more fully the man and be the first option. But seriously, he's already been the second option on a championship team in real life, for real. He was the second option with Kawhi. It's not Kyle. It's not Fred. It's Pascal. He was the second option, and the scoring numbers will show that. So he's better than Bosh. Bosh is a good player in certain ways. He's a better player on the Raptors than he was in Miami in some ways. He got more crafty and more vet, but his stats were way better in Toronto, and he was more that kind of guy. But in some ways, Siakam's a way better than Bosh. He's way, way better than Bosh. Trust me. In my greatest Raptors of all time list is Kyle, DeMar, Siakam, and Fred. Those are my top four greatest Raptors of all time. Better than Vince, better than Kawhi, better than Chris. Those are my top four. And Siakam is very closely running up on DeMar and Kyle to be the best, greatest Raptor of all time. If he gets more success and more awards, he wins some more All-NBAs, he gets us another championship. Yeah, that dude's the greatest Raptor of all time. Pascal Siakam from Cameroon. That's right. David's saying, you actually think? Interesting. All right, David, everything, I don't want you to go just straight at him all the way. So, I don't want to encourage like going straight at him too much because he's actually being very fair and we can have a civil discussion. And I think that it's been going pretty good. Actually, honestly, I'm very impressed. I like what professionals saying for the most part. He's coming from a Philadelphia side, of course, but we have to meet in the middle and be fair about it. And in some ways, we shouldn't just be personally attacking him or just coming at him too much. Seriously, let's allow him to be here and not feel like he's not welcome. He is. He's fine right now. He's fine. G saying, professional Kawhi and Siakam had the second most points of any duo in NBA history. That is a fact. Suggest you watch the 2019 Raps versus Sixers highlights as a refresher. It's Jordan and Pippen, and then boom, Siakam and Leonard. Those are the two highest duo scorings in postseason history in the whole entire NBA history. You can look at all the great duos in the history of the NBA, and Jordan and Pippen had the highest scoring between two guys on a team, and then the next duo after that is Siakam and Leonard. So you tell me he's not a second option on a championship team if he's the Pippen to Kawhi Leonard on his championship team. That's just the pure facts. Cool Cat saying, I support. Hang on, it jumped. I hate how it jumps right when I'm about to read the comment. It jumps all the way down all of a sudden. It's so stupid. Why does YouTube have that faction? If you're listening to me, YouTube gremlins and people that are working on it, tinkering in the background, stop making the screen jump when I'm trying to read the live chat because I'm about to read something and then all of a sudden it goes down to the bottom. So yeah, listen. All right. Here's Cool Cat. I found the spot now. I support cracking down on guns issues. Guns are being smuggled into the country from the U.S. We have to work on the border issues. The thing I really like what Justin said is he's giving real like things, solutions. And one of the solutions is to really, 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 really come down hard with harsh penalties for people that are caught in the gun smuggling trade. So they're going to up these jail sentences and really make it so like these people are off the streets and they are gone. Like maybe they get like 40, 50 years or something like that. You have harsh penalties like that. Maybe it'll dissuade people from even getting into that racket because that's important. Like, this is really the main problem. It's not the guns we make here in Canada and we sell legally, it's the guns that come from the states that are a problem. They really are. If we're got guns coming from Asia too, that may be part of it too. Maybe from Europe. There could be guns coming from different directions, but most likely, most of them are coming from the US. David's saying, I am not fucking cheering for Nick Nurse at all over my dead body. Yeah, I'm with David. I'm sorry. You can call us petty. You can call us salty. You can call us like you're not good Canadians because you're being like, not turning the other cheek and being nice Canadians. Well, maybe David and I aren't nice Canadians. Maybe we have our Canadians with edges. And they're, in some ways, let Canadians be whoever we want to be. We don't have to all be stereotyped in one group. This is Canadian behavior and this isn't. Oh, that's not Canadian behavior. Fuck that shit. Canadians are a very diverse population of all types of people. And if there can be some hateful, spiteful Canadians that have salt like us, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm totally with David. In fact, David and I think this year's going to be fun. David and I are going to be skewering the Philadelphia 76ers and Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid all year long. So you love that kind of entertainment as a Raptors fan, stay tuned to the Raptor Freak channel. You may get a dose of it every once in a while. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. When I go to the game, if I go to a Philadelphia game this year and Nick Nurse is in the arena, he's getting the Goran treatment. He is. He just is. He, at least when they announce him, sure, other people can cheer him. That's fine. And people can look at us as ungrateful. We'll just realize we're the real ones. We really love the Raptors. We love the Raptors so much that Nick Nurse is dead to us. There you go. Sue's saying also Nick Nurse got a lot more exposure here. Commercials, TV shows, playing with bands on stage, branding. He mattered here. He won't have that in Philly. He will realize it eventually, but it will be too late. Philly's a smaller market than Toronto. Toronto, he gets the whole damn country. Like he could be in commercials in Halifax all the way to Vancouver. And in Philadelphia, it's really just, it's going to be that area. And in some ways, the Sixers are a weird franchise in Philadelphia because the Flyers, the Eagles are really top dog there. The Eagles are the top franchise in that city because they've had more success recently, and it's football too. The NFL is kind of a bigger sport in the States in general already. And Phillies are kind of at the bottom. The Flyers, I could say, are very close to the Sixers as far as their importance in that city. It'll be interesting to see. I think Cool Cat's, or I think Sue is right on this one. Sue's right that the opportunities and his exposure won't be the same here. And he may find that kind of difficult in some ways to feed his ego. G saying Embiid is lucky he has had Butler, Simmons, and Harden. Imagine him without another bona fide star carrying the load. Pascal hasn't had that, has he? Yeah, in some ways. I mean, that it's tough to kind of say that or not. I mean, Scotty, OG, Fred. It's tough to say, G. I understand what you're trying to say with your comment, but I don't know. It's tough to say. I think that Siakam has had help, but I don't know how you compare like the level of help or talent around. I mean, Harden's a huge level of talent, and he really does enhance Embiid. He's the one who's made Embiid way good the last 2 years, and they're going to find that out once Harden walks and goes back to Houston. They're going to see that Embiid's going to magically like switch back to not being as good as he was all of a sudden. It's going to be very interesting. David's saying Joel can't even carry himself to half court most nights. G. Oh, David's just gonna slag them all over the place. It's crazy. All right, M. Jones is saying, "Hey Lex and Raps fam, was wondering if you heard about the spousal abuse claims that all of a sudden surfaced about Griffin, because it sounds like he's in potential hot water, at least reputation wise." Yes, M. Jones. And good morning to you, M. Jones, a great Raptor freak. Yeah, this all came up a couple of years ago. It really came up in the bubble or sometime around the pandemic when Nick had to leave the team and Adrian started to coach for a little while for us. His ex-wife brought this all up. She has an axe to grind and she really hates him and she's trying to destroy him publicly. And she brings all this up whenever something big happens for him. Well, he recently got this Milwaukee job and she's doing the same song and dance as she did when Adrian got to coach us at that time. It really put the whole Raptors world with online on its head, and kind of some of the woke warriors came out for Adrian's head and said we need to get him out of here. But what happened was, M. Jones, they investigated it, the team did, and they looked into it, and everybody looked at it, and you know what, we found out that this lady just has an axe to grind. She's not factual. They talked to AJ Griffin and the other siblings, the children of Adrian Griffin, and they said that their mother is crazy and that she's talking out of pocket, and she's just got she's bitter and she's after him because of what has happened with them in their personal life. So there's not really any merit to the claims made by Adrian's ex. They just happen to sprout up when ever something good happens for him. So they're in full effect right now. Milwaukee Nation's a little worried about it because they've seen some of the murmurs and some of this stuff. But overall, the Raptors did their due diligence, investigated, and found that he did nothing wrong and that he continued with us and he's in good standing. So that's where it's at. It's old news. It was dealt with. It's already been looked at. It's just being recycled because he got a head coach job all of a sudden. So I hope that answers your question, M. Jones. Nameless is saying 5 to 8 minute chat cutoff warning. Nameless is already warning you guys to cut off the chat. Cool stuff. G saying, laugh my ass off, David. Embiid has been spoon fed with a revolving door of stars. Once Harden leaves, this will be his true test. Well, let's see if they replace him. Like, who knows? Like, what did they bring in Fred? What did they do get Fred on that team? That's the other thing that I heard, and that rumor that I heard way before. It wasn't just Nick was going to be in Philadelphia. Fred was going to be in Philadelphia also in that rumor. I saw it. It sounded so ludicrous to me at the time. I was like, this is insane. Who's putting this stuff out here? Like, who's making this shit up? As Doug Smith said, somebody's day drinking. But now it seems like this actually may come to fruition. So there may have been seeds planted and people that had this plan all along, and they signaled it by saying a really ridiculous rumor on Twitter 2 years ago, and now it's coming to fruition, coming all the way around to fruition. It's kind of like what we did last season. Toronto Raptors, NBA champions 2024. Toronto Raptors, NBA champions 2024. Toronto Raptors, NBA champions 2024. Speak it into existence. So some knucklehead on Twitter tweeted a couple of years ago that Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet will be in Philadelphia on the Sixers. Well, they may have tweeted it into existence. So we'll just have to see if Fred's the next part of it. We'll have to see. Let's see what else. Blackhawk is saying chances are Raptors pick a coach today or next Friday. Yeah, that's what I've heard too, Blackhawk. You're exactly right. It may be tomorrow. It could be today. It could be Sunday, but it could very well be as far as a week from today. The timeline is, I think that next Friday is absolutely right around when Masai has to or wants to have that coaches hire by then. So we will know probably by next Friday for sure. I'm expecting this weekend. Seriously, I'm expecting in the next 3 days. Let's see. David's saying they will wait as long as possible. Well, we'll see. We'll see. They've waited a very long time already, and they're very, very being calculating. I really think Jordy's our guy. I really, really do. I'm having more and more like positive feelings of foresight in my brain of seeing magical, amazing things happening because Jordy Fernandez is the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors. So we'll see if my foresight is right and he's going to get hired, and we're going to see beautiful, amazing stuff happen on the basketball court for the Raptors with a fresh, young, hotshot, new mind coach, Jordy Fernandez. In the presser with Nick yesterday, he was asked about the game and how it's changed since he won the championship in 2019 with the Raptors. And he said, yes, the game is happening very fast. It's moving very fast with rule changes and all kinds of different things happening with the game. It's evolving quickly. Well, in some ways, he's leaving out the part that he didn't want to say is maybe the game's leaving him behind. Because in some ways, in the last couple of years, we've seen this with him, that he's not on the cutting edge of basketball like he used to be. And he's now kind of like figured out, and everybody kind of knows his playbook, and there's no surprises from him. So in some ways, if we hire Jordy Fernandez, he could be more like Nick Nurse than Nick Nurse is like Nick Nurse, because he's unknown, he's fresh, he's coming out of left field, he's doing experimental stuff that nobody's seen. And that's what I'm saying. The game is evolving. So maybe the game is leaving Nick behind like a little bit quicker than everybody thinks. Because in some ways, when he answered that whole section of it, I was like, yeah, it's leaving you behind. They're saying, well, how does the game change since you won the championship, Nick? And he's like, yeah, it is evolving. It's definitely changing. And it's like, yeah, you're getting left behind. At least that's how I felt with you and the Raptors the last year or so. You're getting left behind by other people, and the game is moving forward, and you are behind it. You are behind it. Let's keep going. Mike saying, I'm going to go into more on a drop, but skill development is one part of NBA development. Role development is the other part, and key for younger players learning the game in the first couple of years. Yeah, you don't give any roles to your young players; they don't develop. And Philly fans, you're gonna find out real quick. He does not develop players. Y'all think he's gonna develop y'all as young players? Good luck with that. He's gonna overplay your top 6 or 7 players. They're gonna play like almost 40 minutes every night. And everybody who's young, who's coming up in your system, you're not gonna get to see. And y'all's fans are going to go crazy because you're going to be like, I want to see more Paul Reed. Why aren't they playing Paul Reed? Paul Reed, Nick Nurse. And you'll be like mystified. Why is he not playing? And you'll be like, he's in the doghouse. And you don't even know why. Maybe he pissed Nick off and you didn't even realize it. And all of a sudden he's not playing. It's just like he did to Precious, just like he did to Chris Boucher, just like he did to Gary Trent Jr. He's going to do that to Paul Reed. Watch, I'm going to put it right now. He's going to do some weird put Paul Reed in the doghouse thing. And Philly fans are going to be like, what the fuck is going on? So remember, I said this, professional. Seriously, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. Let's see. Mo saying, love Jamal Murray. Don't get me wrong. I want to see Kyle win it to build on his legacy, and only Kyle. Monique is still rooting for the Miami Heat just for Kyle. And I am with you in some ways. I understand why you're doing that. But we don't want the Miami Heat to make history as the first ever play-in team to win the NBA championship. No, we don't. That is such a feather in their cap. And we do not want that bragging right for them. We really don't. David saying 10:30 cutoff time, y'all. All right, unless you're roasting Joel, post below. I love it. I love it. Davis giving a rule for that. All right, let's keep going. Blackhawks saying Nick Nurse and his crew are fine with Team Canada. It's the one situation where the results are successful for them. They will not sabotage their success as it looks great on their resume. I hope so. I mean, in some ways, look, the things that are stacked against them this summer, Blackhawk, are crazy. They are in the pool with France and Spain. And the only two teams are going to get through there. So they got to do better than France or Spain. One of those two teams are that's going to be really, 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 really tough. They're kind of doomed to fail already and not qualify for the Olympics. That's what I'm saying. If Nick can go there and show some gumption and gets the Team Canada into the Olympics, that will buy a lot of faith with me and him and make me like kind of be like, yeah, Nick's still a real one on some level. So that's what I want. If you can go there and overachieve and get Team Canada in the Olympics, that'll go a long way to help Canada be cool with him being a Sixers coach now. Seymour saying Nick is a bum. Good riddance. Yeah, I'm with Seymour Pape. He is a bum. Good riddance. We'll get to see all kinds of fun in Philly. Chris comes saying very entertaining discussion. Who's your pick for the next Raps coach? I'm feeling Jordy at the moment. I am too. It's changed as this whole process has gone for this last month and a half. It's changed. We were very high on Jerry early. Then there was the Becky Hammond period. Then we looked at JJ Redick of all people. You know, we talked a lot about people like Jama and Patrick Mutombo and Jerry Stackhouse. And now it seems like they've already named that they have 3 finalists, and we know who 2 of them are, Jordy and Sergio. And then there's a mystery one. Now I saw a release that said Darko is the 3rd one. So all 3 of our candidates are European coaches right now. That it looks like is a very strong chance that the next coach of the Toronto Raptors will be somebody who was born in Europe. And it's either going to be Sergio, Jordy, or Darko Rajakovic. That these are the 3 names I saw on a list yesterday. Not Doc Rivers, not Mike Budenholzer, not any of those other names we've seen before. That it may be one of those 3 names. Now, Darko may be somebody I look into a little bit more closely and deeply in the coming days. If something happens with him, obviously, if we hire him, I'm going to go find out everything about him. But he may be somebody I need to go research a little deeper, like I did Jordy this week also. Right now, I'm really high on Jordy Fernandez. I think he would be fantastic. I really like the sports psychology PhD that he carries. It's nice to replace a doctor nurse with a Dr. Fernandez. And that's the thing. Let's keep that PhD in there. Some ways, that's why our coaches got hired away so quickly. Oh, you're a PhD, Adrian? Yes. Ooh, wow, let's hire him. Ooh, Nick's a PhD. We got a PhD coach in Philadelphia now. And well, Toronto may still have a PhD coach if we hire Fernandez. So I'm all about that, Chriscom. Great question. Thank you. And thank you for being here. We always appreciate the great Chriscom coming in with his predictions. I hope your prediction is right on Jordy. Mike saying Nick's experience coaching against Philly so much has really shown him a lot before even hitting the ground. I take that as honest and his choosing of Philly based on Nick's needs to know more things. There's a weird relationship between not just him and Morey. There's a weird relationship between him and Philly in some ways that I don't totally understand yet. So who knows? Whatever. Mike, I appreciate you doing what you do with your channel and the things you're going to come out with this summer. I hope you do cover this press conference from yesterday. If you can give it your treatment like you normally do, I would love to hear your insight on the different things that Nick said yesterday in specifics and how you read them. That's one of the things I really enjoy about your content is that you play the interview and then you kind of comment about what they're saying and interpreting it. I think you could find a very interesting clip if you do Nick's presser from yesterday. Let's see. Infamous is saying, salute freaks. Nurse lost the locker room. He had to go. Yeah. If anything, there's no coming back once you lose the players. You know, if those players are not bought in and they don't believe in you anymore, that you can't do anything about that. He has to go. The door is open. You got to go, Nick. And in some ways, maybe he's mad at the players for giving up on him, or I don't know. I think he gave up on them first, honestly, because they were still giving him a very good effort for the most part. It wasn't until the very end. They heard the news. They heard about that Philadelphia press conference before the game. It kind of didn't happen right away. In that game, they gave a good effort, but then over the days afterwards, they started to hear the fallout of that press conference, and they really started to assess, well, is Nick actually really like bought in and really trying to get us somewhere in the postseason? And then when there's any kind of questioning like that with the players, well, then we're fucked because they're like, well, if he's not really caring or giving up, why should I care or give up? You know, and they give up. And then you see a lost 19-point lead in the second half against the Chicago Bulls in a play-in game. So it really is like dominoes, starting with him giving up in the press conference in Philadelphia led to our guys giving up eventually after that. And I hate that so much. That's why I blame him. And I really am pissed at him is because he gave up. He really did. He did the cardinal sin that Vince Carter did. He gave up and he didn't try as hard as he should have all the way through the whole job. And oh man, it makes me so mad. Cool Cat's saying Nick Nurse had to be let go. He had a few years to work with our bench, and he was not interested in developing them. So we had to move on. He moved away from our model, which he grew up in from Casey. Yeah, Casey in some ways is the development coach. Casey's the guy who is able to develop guys, not Nick. In some ways, he developed a lot of our guys to get to the chance to be the level to help for the championship. It was a mixture of the old vets like Mark Gasol, Serge Ibaka, Kawhi Leonard, and then the young projects that Dwayne Casey developed in the years before Nick took over, and that's Pascal and Fred and those kind of guys. So in a lot of ways, Philadelphia fans that think he's a development coach, he's not. He's not. Our development coach was Casey, and a lot of the good developments with Pascal and Fred came from Casey giving them the opportunities. Blackhawk saying Jordan for next Raptors coach. Jordan? You mean Michael Jordan? No. That'd be really bad. Michael Jordan has no patience for the young knuckleheads today. In fact, he doesn't even have the patience to be the owner of the Charlotte Hornets anymore, let alone a coach. These knuckleheads have driven him right on out of the NBA. He's selling his stakes in the Hornets because he's sick of the dysfunction and the idiocy of the young players on the Hornets team. So, yeah, he can't be an owner. You think he can be a coach? Yeah, that's too close. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse was more interested in his winning record, ran the starters to the ground. He was not smart in mixing the bench with his starters to help them develop. Instead, he would use all the starters together all the time. Overkill, overkill. Yes, no lies, no cap in what Cool Cat is saying right here. This is exactly right. He said it over and over again. The only thing I'm worried about is making the Raptors win and win. And in some ways, Sixers fans will like that. That's what we want too. Well, at what detriment? At what cost is he going to do that? Because we saw a cost here in Toronto, and y'all may find it too. Monique saying Tracy McGrady put Paul Pierce on blast about the Raptors retro jersey. Thanks for bringing this up, Monique. I saw this clip yesterday of Paul Pierce dissing our Raptors dinosaur jerseys from the beginning in the expansion years, saying they were the ugliest jerseys ever in the history of the NBA. So, fuck you, Paul Pierce, you Raptor hater. You always been kind of like that. You and your dumb drinking on Instagram, losing your ESPN job because you're having a booty party. Yeah. Tracy, thank you for standing up for Raptors Nation and saying, honestly, those were fire. is what Tracy said. And he really loved those old Raptors jerseys that he used to wear that were white with the Raptor on them. And Paul Pierce, you're out of pocket, and he caught you on it. Yeah, you go. McGrady. Thank you, Tracy. In some ways, you've ingratiated yourself with Raptors Nation more and more as time goes on because you say a lot of glowing things about us. And I appreciate that. I know you were very young when you were here, and it was kind of confusing, the Raptors and the franchise at that time. And now, with age and perspective and wisdom, you can see a little bit more about the whole situation, and you appreciate our team a bit more. And I do really, really like that. In some ways, I like you way more than Vince because in some ways, you haven't dissed us as bad as he did. In some ways, cool cats. Let's see. Elijah's here. Good to see Elijah Hutchins. Always good to see Elijah in the morning. Pascal is top 5 in my mind. Only reason he isn't regarded as that is league wise is our shortcomings this year. Next season, P is coming for what's due. There you go. Siakam wanted to be top 5 last season. Well, where did he get? I think he's top 15, right? He didn't make one of the all NBA teams, but really a bad finish and the Raptors' failure really hurt his chances to get all NBA. But in some ways, I'd say he's top 15 in the league. I don't know if he's top 5. Cool Cat saying, Lex, they lured away our development coaches, our players, our front office. It's endless. Well, they did and they didn't. There's a couple of key people that are really important that are still here. And I maybe shouldn't say their names because people that are listening may be like, we need to target these people next to get them away from the team. Well, some of them I don't think you can get. And Masai's one of them. McKechnie's another one. And now, hopefully, Rico Hines and Jim Sand, these are great people to have. They're not taking Rico Hines. We still got Rico Hines. And if our coach is Jordy, we're going to have a very good development coach in our head coach also. So I'm not worried about this. In some ways, the development coaches that we had is not Nick Nurse. The development coaches we've had have been different people throughout the time and not just Nick Nurse. Rico Hines is one of the best development coaches, and we still got him. And that's what I care about. Yeah, they want our stuff. They'll put it down, say it's no good while we have it. And then miraculously, their opinion of Nick or Fred changes when it looks like they may be a part of their organization. That's funny. Mike's saying the league did that to the Spurs too, not gonna lie. Well, they got the creme de la creme, the biggest gift now, and I'm so happy about this. Listen, if the Raptors are in a really bad place next year, we may go a little bit heavy on, not heavy, but a little bit on the Spurs side, because I am very interested in watching Wemby, and him going on my Western team is really exciting to me, honestly. If we have a tough year in Toronto, it may be balanced very nicely by a really good year in San Antonio that's fun to watch as a Spurs fan also. I know a lot of y'all are Spurs fans also, so please don't get mad at me if I do talk about Wemby a bit this year, just to kind of give us some sunshine, just in case things are dark with the Raptors. But I'm fully holding out for us to have a very sunshiny forecast for the Raptors also this year. We just got to see what the moves are by the end of August, and then we'll see where we're at. Let's see. Cool Cat's saying, did any of our players go to Nick Nurse's Instagram post and like or say anything? Thank you publicly. I know they would do so internally. I don't think so. I think Fred's the only one who's nodded to him at all in this whole situation. And I don't expect it. I seriously don't. I really, really don't. I think that they really made their thoughts on him clear by the end of the season. And that, seriously, there's something that happened there. I think that that's part of the reason why Nick said good luck with those guys, because in some ways he's mad at them for like not following him anymore. That he just lost their respect somehow, some way, whether it's something with Earl Watson, whether it's something with Nate Bjorngren. Nick lost the respect of the players. It's obvious. And they were still playing and trying to keep it together as professionals, but their heart wasn't into playing for him. You could tell. You really, really could tell. Let's see. Monique saying Randy Urban doing NBA Nightcap, but not sure if Raptors are going to be posting it on YouTube at all, but it's on NBA TV Canada. There's an interesting thing happening with content makers. I'm a little worried because they have like a new ruling in Canada about posts on YouTube in different places. And they're showing like Sportsnet's not doing anything on YouTube anymore. And there's a lot of people just moving away from YouTube at this point. I don't know. I hope that has nothing to me to be worried about with this channel. But whatever, fuck it. I'll fight whatever fight and continue to do whatever I do as I can. But hopefully there's not any weird restrictions from new regulations in Canada about social media and stuff like that. I should not be affected. I mean, come on. I'm not making any money doing this. So just let the man do his fan site. So don't fuck with me, Canada, on my channel. That's all I'm going to say right now. But it is weird that a lot of people are exodusing away from YouTube as far as Sportsnet and Rogers and other people. It's a kind of a weird situation. I don't know exactly what it signals. All right, let's keep going. Professional saying Simmons was awful in the playoffs. He couldn't play in the half court. Jimmy Butler was only with Joel for one season in 2019. James Harden is older and inconsistent. This Jamal Murray is better. Yeah, I'll agree with all that. I mean, yeah, part of it is that Jokic's team has been built to be successful. Also, they haven't been like knee jerk with reactions and changes on their team like the Sixers have. I recently saw Markel Fultz say in a quote saying, "I wish the Sixers hadn't given up on me so soon. I would have loved to be there where I bloom and blossom now here in Orlando." And he's exactly right. Y'all get too impatient and you move things too quick and you make changes too quickly. And whether it's Jimmy, whether it's this or this or this, you can't establish anything without having some time together. And that's the difference right there. The Nuggets have been patient. They built up their thing with keeping a core together, and boom, they're getting the results that they wanted. That's really a part of it. And part of it is your fan nation's too impatient and they pressure the Sixers front office to make changes. You have knuckleheads too around the team, but y'all gave up on Fultz way too early. But I understand why, because he was hurt a lot and people were complaining about him and stuff. But he's saying that he wishes he had still been in Philly because he would have wanted to help y'all at the point where he could have played now. So that's a big part of it right there. Not valuing Jimmy Butler and letting him go. Yeah, that was a huge mistake. Even JJ Redick leaving that year was like, what the fuck are the Sixers doing? Like, in some ways, JJ and Jimmy were their best players when we played y'all in that series with Kawhi. So, oh man, I get what you're saying. And you're exactly right about Harden. He's older and he's always been inconsistent. But I will give him credit. He was a good citizen for most of last year. It's just he'll check out at some point in the playoffs and he's just disappears and he does not help y'all at some point. He's just gone. Fun guys here. Good to see I'm a fun guy. If Brett Brown and Doc could do it, I think it'll be a cakewalk for Nick Nurse. Hang on. Oh man, why does it jump like that? We need to kick the Sixers' ass, though. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. Like, why do you think it's going to be a cakewalk, fun guy? Just because those guys had somewhat success with them? I think they're all about the same, honestly. Nick and Doc, as much as like I wouldn't have said this like a year or two ago, in some ways are not that much different as far as like what they're going to get. And a lot of Sixers fans already realize this. They're saying that they're kind of like not excited about this hire and that they kind of feel like he may be just kind of similar to Doc in some ways. And they may very well turn out to be right. So, yeah, I'm not going to put Nick above Brett Brown and Doc Rivers in this situation because in some ways, Nick Nurse hasn't totally proven himself without Kawhi Leonard in the situation that we had here when he came in. So, yeah, we can't say that exactly. He could be just as good as Brett Brown. We don't know. He had a very cushy, good situation he inherited from Dwayne Casey. Cool Cat saying, I see some Raptors players are in a Burna Boy video. Precious, Coloco, Delano, along with Mo Bamba. That's awesome. That's great news. I love that kind of news. Of course, those guys are in there. They're buddies with Burna Boy. And yeah, the Raptors connection with Burna Boy is actually very strong with Pascal introducing him at the All-Star weekend. I'm telling you, he could have probably picked any of the All-Stars that from that year. He could have picked Bam. He could have picked Giannis. He could have picked any of them to introduce him. He picked Siakam. And that's very much on purpose. And I love that Siakam got to introduce him at the halftime show at the All-Star game. It's so cool. So, yeah, the connections with him are really awesome. I'm going to have to see this video. Maybe I'll see it later when I review my videos. I'm going to find that new Burna Boy video, and I'm going to see my Raptors in it. That's going to be awesome. All right, Paul B saying, Nick Nurse won a title 10 years. I'm not speaking an ill word against him. I'll give him a round of applause when he's in the building, and I'll root for him to lose against us. All right, Paul's going to try and be classy about this, and he's kind of trying to delineate this and stuff like that. I get it, man. But it is really, we got to stay present. And he's the enemy now. He is the enemy, Paul. But y'all can deal with it however you want to. It is what it is. It is what it is. And it's just ugly at this point. It didn't have to be this much of a grudge match, Nick. It didn't have to be this much of a grudge match. Even if you'd gone to Milwaukee, it wouldn't be so bad. If you'd gone to Phoenix, it definitely wouldn't have been so bad. In fact, I'd be so wishing you luck in Phoenix and playing and coaching the Suns and being in the West Coast and tearing it up over there. I would actually be a fan of the Suns next year if you had been coaching the Suns, and I would have been in good standing with you. But no, you had to go to that other PH team, Philadelphia, and now it's shots fired. It really is. It is shots fired. Paul, you handle it how you want. I'm gonna boo the hell out of him. I'll boo the hell out of him. I still respect that he won a championship for us. I've put so many accolades. I've talked him up so much on this channel and in real life all over the place. It's time to talk him down. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Trevor's saying, I hope Joel is ready to get his knees broken in half. It's like the mafia is coming. I hope you tell Nick to stop complaining to the referees, not to give him fouls. It's hilarious. It's convenient now, isn't it, Trevor J? Joel's going to be like, yes, more complaining, Nick. Nick, get your bitching going. Come on. Come on. Where's your bitching? You used to do it in Toronto so much. Where's your bitching now? We want your bitching. Get your bitching going. Mike's saying Adrian Griffin's wife used claims of wild stuff to get more money in the divorce. There you go. That is a part of what happened. That is exactly what happened. She was very much salty and coming after him and trying to ruin his good name when he was getting promotions. And that's what's happening now, too. Professional saying, is it hot in Canada today? It's 91 degrees down here in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if it's Mother Nature or the Nick Nurse heat wave coming into town. I'll give you that one. You know what, Professional, you've had quite a week with us as far as like coming in at the beginning of this whole Nick Nurse news and not really stepping in with the right foot. But since then, you're cool, man. We can cohabitate with you. I love these kind of comments. It is actually very hot here. I don't have air conditioning in my apartment. And that thermostat right there is saying 84 in here. So it's 84 degrees in this room that I'm sitting in right now. And outside, I mean, we do Celsius up here. Some people are saying it's like 30 degrees outside. So yes, we've had a heat wave here also. The last 3 days has been very hot, actually. Yesterday was quite hot, and today is also. So yeah, there's the truth. And I don't know if it's a Nick Nurse heat wave. Oh man. All right. Let's see. Mike saying an international coach for international players is a great aspect. I like Nick Nurse's overseas work, but an actual coach born in Europe has the known culture and able to relate to players better. I think Jordy's just a really weird, interesting person. The fact that he did not really speak English until he was in his early 20s when he started his coaching career really kind of means that he comes from a totally different kind of mindset, literally because of the language and Spanish being his primary language. Otherwise, like also, for him to have his rise in the NBA ranks really means he is a hot shot, that he is a shooting star coming up. And they've been talking about him for a couple of years. I think he's ready to mature into being a head coach at this point. And that in some ways, people have been forecasting him to be ready to do this. And you don't get to this point if you're a guy who didn't speak English in your early 20s, if you are not the real deal Holyfield as far as a really brilliant basketball mind. He overcame all kinds of stuff and doors open for him. And that portends that it's a personality thing, that people want to be around him or gravitate towards him or want to push him to succeed more because people around him work with him so hard. And that's some of the stuff that I'm really excited about with him. He's a hot shot. He's on his way up. Let's get that inertia, that heat wave from Jordy Fernandez coming to Toronto. And let's see if it's very similar to the Nick Nurse inertia he had in his first year. I mean, I'm not expecting Jordy to get a championship in his first year. If we can get lightning to strike twice in Toronto, that'd be fantastic. But I do expect some really innovative, creative coaching that is not going to be like what other people would do. In fact, I really want him to do some amazing things with our offense in particular next year. If it can be more sound and efficient like Sacramento's was this year, that's already an upgrade on Nick Nurse, because he was horrible on our offense last year. Philadelphia, you may be very lucky that you already have very good offense and offensive players on your team, because Nick is not good with the offense. At least he wasn't with us in the last couple of years. Let's see. As above, as so below, War Lion is here. I love that name. Going to put the 76ers back in the process after we sweep them this year. Going to be a task, but it's a game we will be waiting for every time Nurse shows his Where's Waldo look in Toronto. Listen, the meme capabilities are fantastic for the Sixers and the Raptors at this point. We really get licensed to meme the hell out of him with his crazy faces. He makes the butt face and all that kind of stuff. And Sixers Nation will have fun with it too, I'm sure, from the inside, and having fun with like he's a badass on stuff. Well, we're going to do the exact same thing. In fact, I've already captured a couple of stills from the press conference yesterday that I'm going to use later on down the road when failure comes to Philadelphia. Yeah, yeah, they're good ones. I mean, seriously, he already looked defeated in his first press conference. He's holding his head like this. He's like, oh, he's like looking like this and like this. I'm telling you, man, that's not the first. That's not the good first impression. That he seems really stressed out and he looks really tired and messed up. You know, he had periods of time here in Toronto where he looked like a rose. He was beautiful and budding and just positive and just like the health of the earth. He looks so run down and stressed and unhappy right now. You know, if he really wanted to take this Philly job so bad, why wasn't he more happy yesterday? He didn't seem that happy, honestly. We know what Nick looks like when he's happy. Trust me. Mike saying the Dino jerseys are fire. The false truth is a clown. Yeah, Paul Pierce is the false truth for sure. He is an idiot. I've always hated Paul Pierce. I've hated him forever. I've never liked him. Logical saying facts. The coaching staff was in disarray, hence the full clean. I think Messiah has spoken on the issues of the year. The coaching staff wasn't on the same page at all, and that was seen on the court. Yeah, we thought it was players that had a problem with each other on the team, but it wasn't. It was coaches, assistant coaches, and the coach, and other assistant coaches, and maybe even a little bit of the front office not seeing eye to eye. And Nick was part of the part that didn't see eye to eye with us, and that's why he's gone. So yeah, this is part of the cleansing of getting us back to being not toxic with our team. All right, let's see. Professional saying what upsets me was the Sixers signing and valuing Tobias Harris over Jimmy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's funny when Jimmy comes in that one clip when he's coming to the back, y'all picked Tobias Harris over me. He's like yelling about that. It's hilarious when he did that. How you break up Jimmy and Embiid's duo is ridiculous. If the Sixers beat the Raptors in 2019, maybe things turned out differently. I mean, it really was that bounce. I mean, that's how close it was. And we do realize that we were lucky in that situation to a degree, but some of that is Kawhi's skill is very intentional. You know, he has a certain English off his finger that makes the ball, because he has such a long hand, that makes the ball have a little bit of extra spin. And he practices that shot and he makes those kind of crazy four bounce shots all the time. So in some ways it looked lucky, but it really wasn't. It's like his skill is that kind of skill that he has a certain spin on it that will fly up and then get more of a chance to like on the next bounce, and then goes in. And you know, you're right. If you guys had gotten past us in that series, it probably wouldn't have busted up that team at that time. But that's what I'm saying. Y'all get in too impatient and you make moves too quickly, and that screws things up. That's part of the reason why I love Masai holding our guys together and not being too impatient, like moving OG all of a sudden or moving Pascal quickly just because the fans are mad. They're really calculating and smart, and they're trying to build something up like Denver has. So yeah, I totally agree with this. If y'all still had Jimmy, the last couple of years would have been totally different for y'all. Seriously, they really would have. That may have been the biggest fuck up the Sixers had in the last 5 years. Monique saying, W's all around, W stream. We're waiting patiently on the coach. I'm excited and anxious. Go Raptors. You go, super fan Monique Lawrence, one of the greatest super fans in the history of the NBA. We love you, Monique. And yes, we are all patient and waiting. And Wayne saying, any word on Earl Watson? It's raining in the Caribbean and we ain't complaining. It was way too hot. Oh, man. Sounds good. I'm really glad that you're down there getting some sunshine down there, Wayne, but there's good sunshine here right now. Earl Watson is not in the picture or anything. He's been let go, and I don't know what's going to happen with him. He's not staying with us like Rico is, which is weird because they're best friends. And in some ways, I thought that they're kind of set, but Rico's fine with being with us without Earl being here, but Earl is not going to be here. In fact, he may have been part of that infighting between the coaches that had to be cleared out to make sure that there's no lingering problems. Earl is not giving any signals that he has anything to do with the Raptors, and I have heard that he is fired and he is with Nick out of here. He's just out of here. So that's just where it is with Earl. He's not one of our candidates to be our next head coach, and he is not currently employed by the Raptors either. So yeah, there's where he's at. Cool Cat saying, hi, Wayne, my fellow island. Good to see you're a member of the Raptor Free crew. Awesome. Awesome. I love to see that. All right, we've gotten to the end of the comments. Let me just do a quick real run through. Nick Nurse, man, I'm so glad you made that post this morning. Finally, thank you. My family and I are forever grateful for the love and support you've shown us. Thank you to the city of Toronto, MLSE, Larry Tannenbaum, and the board and the entire Raptors organization. We will miss the people, the city, the country we've called home for the past 10 years. Through the foundation, we will continue to support the community that has given us so much. Finally, he writes us a letter this morning, just in the nick of time before I was going to skewer the hell out of him today. I'm serious. I had it all lined up, and then I saw that post, and I was like, damn, I can't do what I was going to do today now. I have to be kind of nice because he finally did what we asked. And thank God you did, Nick. Seriously, you are doing a little bit of damage control with the real ones like me, as far as like where your legacy is going to be with us. This is very similar to Vince Carter. So if you want to go ahead and see how it's going to be, go ahead and see what happened with Vince after he left and went to the New Jersey Nets. So yeah, that's how it's going to be with us. So get ready for it. You may not totally get all the love you think from us up here. You will get from some of us, but from some of us you will not. And that's just the way it has to be. It's just the way it has to be because you went there, and that's just how it goes. All right. Once again, Masai Ujiri linking up with Justin Trudeau yesterday, doing a campaign to stop gun violence in Canada. Wear white today, y'all, to show support for this day today. It is declared the first Friday of every June going forward will be Stop Gun Violence Day in Canada. Wear white in honor of it, please. And it's such a great cause. Once again, do not get this misinterpreted as gun control to take away your gun so you can't protect yourself against the powers that be. This is to stop the guns from coming in the country and to stop the gun manufacturers from just making irresponsible amounts of guns that just are not necessary for our society. You know, that's part of the problem is it's capitalism. They got to make more money and profit by selling guns continually. Well, when you buy a gun, it can be a lifetime purchase. And that's why these guys are irresponsible. The prevalence of guns is directly correlated to the amount of gun fatalities that happen around the world. It's very simple. The presence of the gun means the gun could go off and somebody dies. The guns are not there. There's less of them. There's less death. It's a very direct correlation. And people that don't understand that, well, I don't know what to say to you because it's just the damn truth. So if we can curb the amount of guns in Toronto streets and Canada overall, this will be a very good thing. And I commend our MLSE, Toronto Raptors organization, and Masai Ujiri working with the government to make a difference in this aspect. In fact, we're being role models for our country below us, the United States, who have very serious problems with this right now, that maybe we can show some leadership and help them with their very serious problem. Because it kills me every day to hear some of the stories that are coming out of the States of unnecessary tragedies that are happening just because of guns involved. So yeah, it's really bad. I hate it so much. And then once again, congratulations to the Nuggets getting game one of the finals against the Miami Heat last night. All right, tomorrow, Saturday, share the love club for Adrian Griffin, new hire of the Milwaukee Bucks. Last Saturday, he got hired. We're going to celebrate him a week later and really give him some love for, in a lot of ways, we have no animosity towards Adrian like we do against Nick. And that's weird. That's very telling. So we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, and we will celebrate Adrian, and we will put his name in good faith. And hopefully my description of telling you what happened with Adrian in the controversy earlier, M. Jones, helps you understand exactly what's going on with that. All right. Thanks again, y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thanks for getting me over the devil's number. I'd like to get to 670 and just get out of the 660s altogether. But yeah, somehow, some way, I was worried about that. And I looked at my number. I was like, oh, I'm at 667. Thank God. So let's see if we can get to 670. So please invite your friends. If you have other accounts, just subscribe up. It all helps me get to 1,000. My quest to 1,000. All right. Thanks, guys. Let's see. Mike is saying, not gonna lie, the logic is clear. Masai puts the role development issues on the coaching staff and their issues, and now will change things. Yeah, I think that Jordy will listen to him much better if he gets the job, and he will do what he's saying because he's already that kind of a coach. I don't think Nick's ever been really a development coach. He's just take the best of what I got and overuse it. He even said that he's going to do that yesterday in the Philly conference. He said, I'm going to take the best and overuse it. He kind of said that in code yesterday. If you really pay attention, people, you will see the spot where he said that. I was just saying, Nick Nurse got jumped by the press first day. Hey, welcome to Philly. There you go. Welcome to the city of brotherly love. You didn't answer my question, Nick. Yeah, let's go.